to go.
Okay. Use microphones. All right, everybody, we're going to get started. I'm going to call this meeting to order. This is the Library Commission budget meeting. And it is what time? 1:14? Okay. Commissioner Cahill.
Here.
Commissioner Engbarth.
Here.
Commissioner Green.
Here.
Commissioner Goldberg.
Here.
Commissioner Heavenworth.
Here.
Did I say Heavenworth? Commissioner Legos.
Here.
Commissioner McKenzie.
Here.
Commissioner Poles.
Here.
Okay, and Commissioner Elkind is not going to be joining us. Announcements, please don't forget to use your microphones. And we will be taking a couple of short breaks because this is going to be a long afternoon. So we're going to try to be sensitive to knees and backs and things. So we'll be taking a couple of breaks. And I've told you about your microphones. And thanks very much to the commission for making the time during your week to do this. I think this is one of our most important duties, and it's great to be gathering here. And another thing that the commission met before National Library Week, and this is now after National Library Week. So I think that the commission should give a round of applause to the staff for their work. We really appreciate you. We couldn't do this without you, clearly. We will be taking public comment in the beginning, and then we will take public comment at the end if there are public here, but we're not going to interrupt we're not going to interrupt the presentations to take public comment on the budget discussion. All right. Are there any members of the public who wish to make? Oh, and we are having technical difficulties. While our attorney is here with us, there is a national outage, a national Zoom outage, and so we're not going to be able to hear from members of the public on Zoom. So, with that said, are there any public comments? All right. I'm surprised. And you've all got your public comments as well? Okay, the written public comments that we received. So then with that, we will move into item 4.
Good afternoon, library commissioners, staff, and members of the public who may be joining us in person.
Erica, can I interrupt you just 1 second?
Sure.
One thing I didn't say is that you all know that I was in Washington for the commission meeting. And I think that as we look at this budget, the staff has been working on this budget for such a long time. And they do every year. But I think this year we have to be particularly mindful. We are incredibly grateful to the voters of Sonoma County for providing us with an adequate budget. But in terms of what's happening in Washington and what will be happening in Sacramento, we have to be very, very mindful of how we use our dollars, how we use our cents. And so it is going to be a tough, I think, 10 years. And so we have to be incredibly careful about how we spend things. And so if you think about the Institute of Museum and Library Services, which this administration is trying to disestablish, none of that federal funding will then go to the states. And California got the largest, always gets the largest grant from this grants to states. We won't get that. And California is required to match some of that funding for libraries because they get federal dollars. They will not be required to match it because it's not going to be coming down. So we will have to, our advocacy efforts to make sure that California provides library funding is going to be critical. And we're operating under deficit in California. So the money is very, very important. So our budget here, while 95 to 99% of libraries are funded locally, and this is incredibly important, it is part of a larger food chain, part of a larger money food chain that I think we always have to be mindful of. And that is why also our donors and our friends groups are so incredibly important. They are here to help us get through some of these lean times and to be strategic about how we look toward the future and how we try to find different sources of funding. So with that said, back over to you, Erica.
Right. Thank you. So welcome everyone, and I look forward to presenting our fiscal year 25-26 budget and letting you know about our plans for next year, as well as the progress that we made on our reimagining plan. We are pleased to bring you the proposed budget, which will be $47.63 million. You will notice that our budget is $4.4 million less than our current year, and this is entirely due to the completion of several capital projects, which I will discuss shortly. Our new budget also includes a total FTE of 235.73 staff. This is an increase of just over 2 FTE from the current year. We are fortunate to have stable staffing with a high retention and 40 days or less to fill vacancies. Now, we should all be very proud of this, and we have worked very hard over the last 8 years to make sure this happens. And I can assure you that in difficult times, this is not the case with many other libraries around the state, which are facing revenue shortfalls, cuts in hours, and difficulty retaining and hiring staff. We know that during uncertain times, we can count on our funding as well as our core supporters in our communities to show up and advocate for the continuation of library services. And as Chair Doyle pointed out, we need this now more than ever. Our patrons love the library, and we hear this every day, whether it is on one of our social media channels, sent through an email, told to our staff and branches, or at the ballot box. We are stronger together, and I'm very proud to represent Sonoma County Library as your library director. A key component of our ability to deliver services countywide is our resiliency in the face of many challenges and changes. A resilient library system embraces technology, promotes digital literacy, and ensures access to knowledge regardless of physical or economic barriers. Resilient libraries prioritize sustainability, inclusivity, and safety while preserving cultural heritage. We support lifelong learning and act as a hub for collaboration, innovation, and social connection. Through robust infrastructure, flexible services, and dedicated staff, being a resilient organization allows us to remain vital in times of crisis, whether that's natural disasters, pandemics, or social shifts. We evolve with the needs of our users while staying true to our mission, vision, and values. This budget workshop was a team effort led by our amazing CFO, Ludmila Lopez, her team in budget and finance, our consultant, Armando Viramontes, as well as staff from administration and all other divisions. So not last year, because we're still in it, this year, our biggest accomplishment was really the renewal of our sales tax. And this officially passed in November with just over 68% of the vote. And I really want us to sit and really appreciate why this was so important that we accomplished this last year. We know that with all of the upheavals and disruptions federally with the tariffs, that, I personally believe that if we had to take this in 2026, it would be an uphill battle. So we really have to be very grateful and thankful that we were able to pass it last year. There were many people who worked to make that possible, both publicly and behind the scenes, who wrote letters, waved signs, tabled at events, canvassed with political candidates, donated funds, and organized our events. It would not have been accomplished without our talented and amazing staff who welcome the community into our libraries every day and provide behind-the-scenes support to make that happen, as well as our library commissioners, friends of the library groups, library advisory board members, and of course, our partners at SEIU, Local 1021, and Sonoma County Library Foundation. The financial security that this new sales tax provides for the library is immeasurable and will set the stage for a 21st century library that is resilient and sustainable for years to come. Another one of our successes and we continue to build on, is another record-breaking year for circulation. Now, you will notice that this is last fiscal year because we're still in this year. And we know that this year our numbers are slightly down because of our renovations. But we still topped 4.4 million in circulation, exceeding all prior years. Our physical circulation stayed relatively flat, but our digital continues to grow with an increase of 27%. We expect this to continue growing with greater and greater demand for ebook access. We continue to be very strong statewide in terms of ebook circulation, including the Libby app and our Link Plus usage. Out of 180 plus library jurisdictions, we are 6th in the state for Link Plus. What this demonstrates is that our library extends beyond the walls of our buildings. We are truly a 21st century library, and we can provide resources to our patrons 24/7 all year round. Now, these were our numbers from last year. As I said, our attendance, last year was wonderful. We're seeing slightly less visits this year due to the renovations at Petaluma and Healdsburg. We do expect that to bounce back stronger than ever when our libraries reopen. And I would not be surprised to see our attendance even higher next year as a result of those renovations. So here are some pictures, in progress photos from some of our branches, including Petaluma and Healdsburg. We are in the process of completing these two major long overdue modernization projects. We also completed a mini modernization project at the Windsor Library, and we're currently, as we speak, doing the patio at the Cloverdale Library. So later in the presentation, you will hear more about our upcoming projects from Facilities Manager Dave Tacheva. But just as a reminder, we hope that the Petaluma Library will be opening in mid-July. It is on schedule for that. And the Healdsburg Library will be reopening in late June. We'll have more progress on this in the future. And we know that the Windsor Library, if you haven't had a chance to visit it, we put new carpeting, paint, we added some furniture, and it really feels much more spacious, open, and inviting for all. So if you haven't gotten a chance to visit, please do. We also made significant progress with the Library Foundation and with our Santa Rosa partners on the Roseland Library project. The foundation has raised, their goal for this year was to raise just under $1 million. We are $400,000 away from that goal. They're also working quite diligently on their corporate giving efforts. They have major fundraising activities in the works over the next couple months. And you will hear Craig talk about that in his presentation. We also met some important milestones with the building project. We participated in the City of Santa Rosa's selection process for the design build with Swinnerton builders and architects from Shaw Kawasaki for the fire station and Jason Architects for the library. We approved an MOU with the City of Santa Rosa to lock in the cost of the library and committed a not to exceed amount of $4 million to lock in the library's size. We've also seen preliminary designs, and we continue to meet with the architect on a biweekly basis. I can tell you that the plans that we saw at the April 2nd commission meeting have already changed. So it's an iterative, ongoing process, and we expect to refine the design for the new library over the next few months with a community engagement listening session to be held at the Roseland Regional Library next week. The design process will be 40% complete by May 9th, 75% complete by mid-July, and 100% of the design will be done by October. This has been an exciting project, and I'm really looking forward to breaking ground later this fall. Lastly, we are making some plans next year for our future sustainable and resilient library system, projects designed to help us in our decision-making. The first of these is a new strategic plan. Our reimagining plan has served us well over the past 5 years, but it is time to begin looking to the future and finding new solutions to the challenges that we face. During the next fiscal year, we will post an RFP for a strategic plan and work with stakeholders, staff, and the community to develop a plan that drives our decision-making for the next 5 years. The Library Foundation is also in its strategic planning phase, and we will work alongside them to strengthen both of our organizations. We will also continue our modernization projects. As I said, this budget is $4.4 million less because we aren't doing major capital projects, but we are continuing with the design phase for the Rincon Valley Library. And we're also going to be working with the City of Rohnert Park on their Building Forward Together grant project. Dave will be speaking in detail about that later, in addition to some smaller projects that we will be embarking on. Next year will be a little less busy for facilities, and our new facilities ad hoc committee will also be providing us guidance and direction on projects further out. Another significant highlight for next fiscal year is that salaries for Sunday hours will now be split between property tax and sales tax. Up to now, staff hired to work Sundays were exclusively paid out of Measure Y funds. While this change will not be visible to the patrons or our public, it will be a welcome change to Sunday staff who will now have more flexibility with their schedules. We are also, as you will hear from IT Manager Mike Daw, embarking on a proposal for a new integrated library system. ILSs are the library's primary interface for patron access to our collections. This is a major shift for any library, but ours is more complicated because we share our catalog with Lake and Mendocino counties. Both of these library systems are fully supportive of this move. Lastly, CFO Lopez and her team will work with the Finance Committee on new and enhanced fiscal policies, including the development of a policy for capital projects and updating our purchasing procedures. So that's kind of a high-level overview of some of the major initiatives that we're working on next year. And the rest of our division presentations will give you much more details on those things and then some. So if you have any questions, I will take them now. All right.
Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director Thibault.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Commissioners and Director Thibault. I am Myrna Lopez, the Chief Financial Officer, and presenting the proposed 2025-2026 budget. It is a balanced budget. As mentioned in prior years, the foundation of our budget is set by the priorities within the reimagining plan and developing this budget. In addition, there are other elements that are incorporated in formulating the budget, and these include our major steady revenue sources, which is one of the core reasons why we are able to remain resilient during difficult times. Compliance with the Measure Y ordinance and expenditure plan, and always a component to ensure that we continue to improve patron experience with access to library services, as the director mentioned, a new integrated library system. And we continue to make improvements with our capital improvement program and managing our capital assets as well. And we remain with a fully funded stabilization, or what we also call a rainy day fund, that is fully funded. And we continue to adhere to prudent fiscal policies and procedures that we have in place. Also, you may have noticed that we have a new budget format that was enabled with a new software package that was provided to the library as a pilot. And I hope you found it helpful. The following slides are a summary and include charts in the budget book that provide greater detail.
Bluetooth not working, maybe?
I can continue. The next slide is external factors. While Lisa works on the clicker, I'll just continue. We continue to monitor external factors that impact our revenues and overall operations. There we go. These include economic conditions, such as the impact of federal monetary policies that have tempered inflation ups and downs that we experienced in years prior. And the federal monetary policies have resulted in a slower revenue growth over the last couple of years. As you well know, the library has also had natural disasters that have significant impact to our workforce and our operations. And we also have important partnerships with the cities and the county of Sonoma. And this is particularly important as we plan branch modernization projects with them. We will continue to monitor the budget regularly for any necessary adjustments in response to external factors. This chart shows actual revenues, receipts for sales tax as well as property tax since 2017, when the library started collecting sales tax under Measure Y. Federal increases to interest rates have changed consumer spending activity compared to the last few years, and this has had an impact on sales tax revenue, which is the most sensitive to consumer behavior and economic volatility. As such, the sales tax is growing at a slower pace. Sales tax is projected to grow 0.86% in fiscal year 2026. This growth rate takes into account a projected shortfall of $100,000 in the current 2025 fiscal year, as I have discussed in my monthly Chief Financial Officer reports to the Finance Committee and the Commission. Property tax is projected to grow at 4.6% overall. And I will continue to monitor revenues on a monthly basis and make adjustments during mid-year or sooner if needed. Key highlights of this budget include the budget is $47.63 million. This is approximately $6 million less than the current fiscal year. And it's because of we're not doing as many modernization projects as we are in the current year. So our capital budget is less. Also, the budget is supported by $1,430,103 in new revenue, primarily driven by our property tax. This is, as Director Thibault also mentioned, 235.73 FTE, and it represents about 300 people. Next year's budget also allocates our Sunday, the cost of positions that were added to the budget in order to open on Sundays to both property tax and sales tax. In prior years, this was allocated to sales tax only. However, with sales tax growth rate slowing down, allocation to both funds secures funding for these positions going forward. We also have the new investment in the new ILS that will be discussed later. And I am continuing to fund and maintain the stabilization fund fully funded at 20% of our expenditures. And this is definitely a prudent policy action given all the talk of uncertainty. In the next slide, we will go into components of the revenues and expenditures. So in this chart, it is a high-level summary of our budget. And I'd like to start with explaining the top row, which is the explanation of what these numbers are. The first column is the explanation of revenues and expenditures. The following is the proposed property tax fund. The next is the proposed sales tax fund. And the third is the gifts and donations fund, and then a column that sums that up. The next two are comparisons to the current fiscal year. This property tax itself is $29.1 million. And the total sources under property tax, which includes intergovernmental, other, and donations. Other includes interest that we've been monitoring closely, for a total of $30 million approximately under the property tax fund. Under the expenditures, total non-operating operating expenditures is $30.5 million approximately. And the total expenditures with capital is approximately $30.6 million. On the sales tax side, sales tax alone is $15.8 million. Combined with the other revenues, it is a total of $16.3 million. And on the expenditure side, the operating non-capital expenditures is approximately $16 million. With the capital, it is a total of $16.8 million. Gifts and donations. Historically, we have received approximately $150,000 in donations driven by our amazing Friends of the Library organizations and other smaller donations. And these funds normally directly support the branches in terms of programs and some other items that are very helpful to our patrons. In total, the use of fund balance is $2.1 million to support the maintenance and capital improvements program, as well as a one-time payment of the North Bay Consortium Library System legacy pension costs for a pay down of a one-time payment of about $281,000. So next year, the total budget is $47.6 million approximately. There you go. So where does our funding go? We like to present our expenditures in terms of people, places, and resources. The lion's share goes to people, which is salaries and employee benefits. This budget is $31.15 million, or 65% of the budget. Resources are services and supplies for a total of $14.72 million, or 31% of our budget. And this is where we are budgeting the cost for our maintenance projects for next year. Places are what we reserve for capital projects, and these are the branch modernization projects and other capital projects. Next year we have $0.88 million, and it's 2% of our budget. Here also we have a contingency fund of about $800,000 or 2%. Which is a reserve, a set aside in the event of economic uncertainty, items, expenditures that come up that are unplanned, for example. So a total of our budget is $47.63 million. I have questions at the end. Okay. Here is the appropriation by division. Later in our presentations, each division manager will speak to their budget. But however, on the high level, the top three divisions that get the lion's share of our budget go to public services, which is 39%. And these are really mainly, in the budget book, you can see, it's really staff at the branches. And collections is 15%, and those are all our books in physical and digital form. And facilities, 13%. They support safe and healthy workspaces in addition to our maintenance and modernization projects. Our funding sources include the sum of operating revenue under property tax, sales tax, plus fund balance associated under these funds. Funding is also augmented by our gifts and donations, and again, thanks to our friends of the library. A reminder that the library uses fund balance for major maintenance and modernization projects. Property tax is bringing in $29.18 million, which is 60% of our funding sources. Sales tax is 16.8% or 33% of our funding. And donations are $0.28 million. And other, which is interest on our pooled cash, charges for services is about $0.63 million. And our intergovernmental, which are grants and contracts with others, such as the county, is $0.64 million. So those are our funding sources. This slide shows our operating funds and FTE. We are proud that most of our resources are dedicated to branches for direct services and support. Funding dedicated to branches is 78%, and that's adding public services and community engagement and the support services. Community engagement and public services together are 42% of the operating budget. And support services is 36%, and these include together facilities, IT, collections, and communications. Administration is 12% of the operating budget, and those are rolled up into executive services, budget and accounting, and human resources. And then we have other benefits and the contingency fund, which is 10% of our expenditures. On the other chart here is where our FTE. This is really the powerhouse. People, 235.73 FTE. Like I said, but this does represent about 300 people. 165 FTE or 70% provide direct service to patrons or support to the branches. And only 20 FTE are in administration. An important factor in the budget formulation is applying the allocation of major revenues policy. The major revenues are property tax and sales tax, and here the allocation ratios are shown. Property taxes in blue and sales taxes in red. In your budget book, these are explained that the service-oriented divisions, the expenditures are allocated 60% to property tax and 38% to sales tax. That would be that. And under administration, the policy states that expenditures are allocated 90% to property tax and 10% to sales tax. And capital projects are allocated 10% to property tax and 90% to sales tax. These are the numbers associated with those ratios. Property tax represents 30.6 million and sales tax represents $16.8 million. There are some exceptions to these allocation ratios as discussed in the memo, and I'd just like to mention those. One is that the NBCLS legacy pension costs are allocated to property tax 100%. And the reason for that is that these costs, this legacy was prior to Measure Y was adopted. At the March Finance Committee meeting, the NBCLS unfunded liability was discussed as part of the committee's ongoing planning for addressing overall unfunded pension liabilities. Following that discussion, we did mention that we would be proposing this one-time pay down in this budget. The other item is workers' comp, retiree reimbursements, OPEB, and the contingency fund are allocated 62% to property tax, 38% to sales tax. As they support the entire workforce, these are costs that cannot be allocated to one specific division. After all of these expenditures are said and done, the estimated fund balance is as follows. The committed fund balance is in the stabilization fund over 20% of our expenditures, as well as our capital project reserves. The unrestricted fund balance for budgeting is $10.8 million under property tax, $2.1 million under sales tax, for a total of $13 million combined. These balances are subject to change because they do need to, they are based on the current fiscal year. So we make assumptions that we will be spending down all our funds, that we will meet our revenue targets. So these are subject to change, but it is important to estimate the fund balance given what we're proposing in our budget. The accomplishments under next year's budget are the following. The budget is balanced with very modest changes to revenue. There's much news about unchartered policies by the current presidential administration that are causing much concern about economic uncertainty. And I will continue to monitor federal policies and our revenues for any necessary budget adjustments. Again, Sunday hours were allocated both to property tax and sales tax, and we maintain a stabilization fund fully funded at 20% of our expenditures. So that concludes my presentation, and I know there's questions.
I would just like to understand a little more the NBCLS one-time pay down and what the history of it is.
I'll answer that one.
Okay.
So Sonoma County Library belongs to a cooperative library system. Our current cooperative is the North Net Library System. This is a consortium of about 20 libraries in the North Bay. We pay for our membership and we get a variety of discounts and other benefits by participating in this cooperative system. The North Bay Cooperative Library System was our previous cooperative. They were kind of absorbed into NorthNet in the early 2000s. And it was so we call it a legacy system because it doesn't exist anymore. But there are still pension obligations under that system. There were about 19 employees, as part of the North Bay Cooperative Library System. And so we have pension obligations as a result of that. And NorthNet helps us manage that. And at our January meeting, we all discussed paying down the unfunded accrued liability. Their formula for how that payment is made is based upon population and budget. And because Sonoma County Library has the largest population in all of the agencies and the largest budget, our share of the liability is the largest. The second library is Solano, has the second largest payment. So it's 50-50 based on budget and population served. So all the directors from the library systems agreed to do the pay down with the caveat that we had to get it approved in our budgets. If one library is unable to get approval for the pay down, then we will revert to our previous method, which was a prepayment, which for us is about $41,000 a year. So I won't know until my meeting in May with the other library directors what the other libraries are doing. So we are proposing this. And we know that the amount we have budgeted was based upon a quote that we got in February, but the amount may change when we ask CalPERS for their final for their pay down. So it's that's what we're proposing. We think it would be prudent to do so, and all the library directors agreed that this was what we were going to propose.
I would also add that I think I said this in the finance committee meeting, but when Governor Brown eliminated most of the library funding in the early 2000s, the library systems, the library cooperatives have to scramble to try to pull themselves together and support the library systems that would not have made it through. And so these cooperatives were incredibly important and still are, even though we have fewer of them now. But it just seems like it's not that much money, and it's something that is part of our history, and I would recommend that we move forward with this as well.
Does that, I think that's coming out of the unrestricted fund balance. Does that 13 million, is that after we've subtracted the 4 or before, and how does that all work?
The Roseland project that the commission adopted and approved was just in time for me to include it in this budget. So that 13 million represents represents that approval. So the 4 million for the Roseland is under committed. It is committed now.
Okay, so it's moved out of it. It's you're taking it away. The 13 million means Roseland's out already.
Right, and already accounted for under committed.
And what about, I know there were extra costs at Petaluma and Hillsburg that were unexpected. Have those been taken out already? And the 13 million, they have to come out of 13 million.
So in section, let's see what section it is. Let me look at my section 6 of the budget book, which is assets / capital improvements. On page 76 is the list of projects that we're currently working on in the current fiscal year. So my question, those projects, we have not allocated additional funding for the projected shortfall in Hillsburg, and Petaluma is balanced. The facilities manager and accounting have been working with the city to ensure that all the grant funds cover that project. There is another one that we're talking about, which is Rincon Valley. As you can see, there's funding in the current year for planning of it. But all those projects that are on this page are going to be accounted for and addressed in the current fiscal year. And we're going to let those go through our year-end close. We'll get a status report of them. Any of those that are wrapped up and closed, we close. If there are any projects that need to roll over, we will address them separately through a rebudget matter. And if you recall what the rebudget is that whenever we reconcile year end and we need to roll over funds, we do that as a separate action.
Yeah, I'll follow up on Commissioner Goldberg's questions. Page 35 and 36 shows our special fund activity, and it's a good way to look at what has been committed. And you can see on page 35 that 400,000 has been committed out of property tax for the Roseland 4 million. And then if you look on the opposite page, it's the sales tax, you can see the commitment of the 3.6 million. My question about that is, some of us in the past, maybe everybody has felt okay about this except me, but because of the language in Measure Y that commits under facilities for the money to be spent for renovation of aging facilities, I would like requesting a formal legal opinion about using 3.6 million out of, or actually 400,000, sorry, I'm wrong, out of the property tax. I still don't feel comfortable about using money for a new facility based on the language of Measure Y. So that's kind of a separate thing. And then just kind of big picture, I spent quite a bit of time in the first part of the binder, and I'm wondering if we're going to go back and ask questions, able to ask questions about it. I'm not done with my question for the CFO, but will we be going back through any of this other stuff? Or are we going to talk about only what's in this slide presentations?
The way I would like to handle is my overview was a high level overview, did touch on our capital projects and our maintenance projects, but anything in this, you can ask questions about anything in this budget book today.
Okay, so once we're done with all the
We'll have
presentations, we
questions
can go
and
back
answers
there.
at the
Okay.
end of, after all of the division presentations.
Okay, so on page, on the external factors slide, it's interesting in the JPA review committee that's currently going on, we have found that the word partner doesn't show anywhere. And that the members, the JPA, people who signed the jurisdictions that signed the JPA agreement are actually members of the Joint Powers Agreement. And there really aren't any partners. I mean, we aren't technically partners of the city and county or of the JP or whatever. So at some point in time, I'd like to think we need to think maybe differently about our relationships with the jurisdictions. I'm on the next page, or 2 pages down under fiscal year 2025-26 proposed budget. It calls it a balanced budget, which I thought actually meant, maybe too technically, that we spent what we were bringing in. And we're actually taking money out of our fund balance to balance the budget. Is that still considered a balanced budget?
I consider it a balanced budget because the commission has in place a fund balance policy that allows the use of fund balance for exactly what we're using it for maintenance projects under facilities and IT, as well as capital projects.
So when we look on page, whatever this is, the back of the proposed budget page, where's the number? Oh, 110. You can see how the OPEB trust legacy thing, you know, is a one-time thing. But actually our revenues on under property tax are 30,098,000, and our expenditures are 30,500,000 and so forth. So that we really do have to take $500,000. We're actually spending $500,000 more than we're actually bringing in. Is that not correct?
Well, the way, it's a little technical here, but I do mention in my presentation that, that chart where it says people, places, and resources, under resources are projects under, for Central and for Rohnert Park are maintenance. So when they're maintenance, I don't call them capital, they're maintenance projects. And maintenance projects are under our services and supplies. So if you see a number, that's why you have a number 2 there. It says services and supplies. It has a number 2. And the footnote is that these are planned maintenance projects for facilities and IT. So some of that budget for services and supplies, I'm using fund balance.
Okay. I think I had,
Holmes, I think you have a question?
wasn't quite done.
Oh, sorry.
Just a couple, just a small little typo-ish thing on the FY 25-26 budget accomplishment slide. The budget is balanced. The next two should be sustained Sunday hours and allocated costs and maintained stabilization fund, or maintains, you've got maintains there. It's just the tense of the,
Okay.
of the verbs. And then, lastly, let's see. Oh, just a question about the Sunday hours, being switched from being 100% sales tax. I believe the director made a comment about this adds flexibility. And I was curious what the relationship is to flexibility there.
So when we hired the Sunday staff to work and paid them 100% out of the sales tax, Measure-wise sales tax funding, we required those employees or employees who were hired under the Sunday hours to work on Sundays. So that meant that, they had to commit to a schedule that worked on Sundays. And now that we are moving towards a split property tax and sales tax, they will not have to work on Sundays. They will be able to change their schedule based upon, their requested needs. So it's the staff will really appreciate it because it will give them more flexibility than they have had up until now. Right, but yeah, as Sarah says, it will still be based on operational need, but the union has been asking for this, so it's a win.
Any other questions? Why don't we take a 5-minute break?
Oh, thanks. I got my water over there. Oh, yeah, I saw that, right. Thank you. I don't know.
You can change it if you want.
Oh, okay. All right, thanks.
But it's really cool. Teams going,
Yeah, I think.
we didn't think so.
Just gonna wait till we're.
Good afternoon, Library Commissioners and Director Thibault. Welcome to our fiscal year 2025-2026 budget presentation for Executive Services. I'm Dara Brads, the Deputy Director for Sonoma County Library. I oversee the operational management of our library services to the public and support the Library Director, Erica Thibault, who's responsible for 15 locations with over 300 staff members that provide services to the 486,000 community members countywide. Greg Palmer, our Fund Development Manager, is responsible for raising private funds to supplement public revenues. And we have 4 executive assistants, provide complex administrative support for the executive teams with varying areas of focus. Jaylene Demapan supports the library director. Lisa Davison supports the library commissioners and the deputy library director. Suzanne Axtell supports our our blanked on your title there, sorry about that. Fund development manager. And Martina Vargas supports 2 divisions, community engagement and public services. Last fiscal year, library staff presented to community businesses, nonprofits, and organizations to share information about the library, its services, programs, and resources. We reached 32,000 people through 100 presentations given by 29 staff and volunteers. We also sent 2 mailers and gathered 1,383 responses. With the support of Sonoma County voters, we passed Measure W and secured continued sales tax revenues to continue funding 40% of the library budget. Thank you, Sonoma County voters. Plans to build a new library in Roseland continue with forward momentum. We're excited to break ground later this year. We continue to streamline operations. We completed our mission, vision, and values, which can be found on the library website and referenced on our letterhead. We also adopted our record retention policy, which will guide record retention throughout the organization. Now I would like to turn the presentation over to our Fund Development Manager, Greg Palmer.
Dara, thank you.
Mhm.
Chair Doyle, Commissioners, Director Thibault. Fiscal 2025-26 is going to be a pivotal year for the Sonoma County Library Foundation, and as a result, too, for the library, which is the sole beneficiary of everything the foundation does. Beginning in November 2022, the foundation had set 3 goals to be achieved by June 30th, 2026. Those 3 goals are raise $3.6 million for the Roseland Regional Library Project, use that campaign to significantly strengthen its structure, capacity, and board membership to become a primary funding partner on which the library can depend, and prepare for the campaign that will follow the Roseland campaign by creating its first strategic plan. I'm delighted to report that there is momentum on all 3 of these goals, the completion of which becomes the foundation's focus in 2025-26. Right now, we are at a halfway point on the calendar of the foundation's 3-year campaign, and we have reached the halfway mark towards our goal of having raised $1.8 million. Much of this is music to our ears, as you can see in this first slide. That's Santa Rosa Symphony Music Director Francesco Luce Chong wrapping up a performance of the Symphony's youth orchestra in the Sebastopol branch. One of this year's accomplishments was the beginning of a new partnership between the Symphony and the library, in which the foundation funded. Other accomplishments this year included a donation of $100,000 to jumpstart the campaign for the tax renewal, and opening up prospects among institutional donors, corporations, and private foundations to seed revenue streams for next year. Next, next slide. The script says. The overarching goal in 25-26 is to complete the campaign. Here you see Foundation President Chris Valley leading this charge at yet another Foundation Cultivation event. To kick off 25-26, the Foundation will hold the first of its 2 ticketed events, this one in the fall at Wild Oak Saddle Club. Then the year will wrap up with a celebration as the Foundation launches its first, and we expect its annual, ticketed benefit event. The core strategy next year, though, is the launch of naming opportunities at long last. Now that we have a library, we know the footprint. As for what happens after the Roseland campaign, there is an opportunity that more than anything demonstrates how closely allied the Foundation and Library Administration have become. The Foundation and the Library have the extraordinary opportunity of creating both of their strategic plans at the same time, and have already seized this opportunity for the mutually reinforcing benefits that can ensue. So, what would the Foundation's next campaign be supporting? The answer, the library's new strategic plan with its substantive priorities in programming and renovations. The Foundation's strategic plan is how to raise the funds needed. Yes, there are uncertainties ahead. The Foundation starts every year with a new development plan, which is in process now with the development committee, and we're taking into consideration the very different times we find ourselves in. But with the Foundation leadership we are blessed to have, deepening bench strength on the board, and the proactive collaboration with Director Thibault, there is also the absolute certainty that the Foundation will continue to do everything it can to be that reliable funding partner.
We provide strategic direction and oversight of library programs, services, and resources for Sonoma County throughout all of our library locations. We also support the Library Foundation as they work to meet fundraising goals. Our budget is dedicated to people and resources. To be more specific, we have 7 staff members that support multiple divisions throughout the library. This year, we will focus on completing our disaster plan, identifying a new location for library support services, and negotiate a new MOU with the union. In the year ahead, we will begin working on a strategic plan. We will ensure financial stability by paying down our pension obligations for the North Bay Cooperative Library System. We will facilitate the Foundation reaching its 3-year goal and wrapping up the Roseland campaign. And we'll continue working with our JPA partners and stakeholders to ensure that we are meeting community needs and providing excellent programs and services countywide. Thank you. And do you have any questions? You got off easy.
Thank you so much. You're up again.
Well, there he is.
Okay. They didn't leave the room. Barbara said she had a question.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I didn't see your hand, Barbara. Yeah.
I really appreciate all this fun development.
Appreciate all the information on the fund development and the goals and the numbers and stuff. And it'd be nice if it was reflected in here, because that was actually one of my comments is like, oh, there's not any much detail here, and everything that you said is really, really helpful to us, you know, to see, you know, what the plans are. And I know what it was. The naming opportunities. Can you tell me who will be developing that? Is that going to go just strictly through your department, or will other people be weighing in on it, or how's that work?
No, we're going to be bringing it to the commission.
Well, the naming policy Yes.
Yes.
The naming policies, the naming opportunities themselves, we're going to do it at staff level.
Yes.
But I'm going to do it at a staff level by talking to a lot of people around the counter just to see what they're. Unless we want to do it in every way.
I have no way of knowing how to do that. We talked about it a long time ago on the commission. But, now we're talking about something entirely different about naming wings of buildings after people.
Eric and I have been working closely on this, and we're going to bring the commission an updated policy on the naming policy. But we've already done a draft naming opportunity now that we have a floor plan that we can name one too. And it's, let me just say, it's a very rich bunch of opportunities. I mean, very real ones that are going to be very motivating to donors, we believe.
Right, a nice, fresh, new building. I can see that.
And it's a great opportunity for the foundation and the library to work together. That's usually how it's done in other jurisdictions.
Thank you.
Without getting in the weeds, because we're going to talk about the policy, but how is it going to go from like naming a brick to naming a wing to all different?
Basically, yes.
Okay, good. I've been involved in these.
A brick, a tile.
Yeah.
Chair will have to name.
Okay, good.
Yep.
There you go.
That's one of my,
Uh-huh.
one of the inspirations for this, and I'll just sort of say this as an aside, has been Eve, who's made a couple of nice, really scrappy suggestions along the way that we're using. So thank you.
Yeah, so we are planning, we do need to update our gifts and donations policy. So we will be bringing that to the Library Commission in addition to the naming policy. So we will update our gifts and donations policy, and then we will bring the naming policy as well. So those will be coming very soon.
Okay, thank you.
Which our partners are, the signers of the JPA may have something to say about also, since it's often their building, but since the stuff is inside, we get to make some of those decisions.
Good afternoon. I am Mirna Lopez, the Chief Financial Officer, as well as the Division Manager for the Budget, Accounting, and Financial Services Division. The accounting and payroll team strive to provide the best customer service to the Sonoma County Library staff and patrons. Our work is possible with the active partnership of all the other divisions. The charge of the Budget, Accounting, and Financial Services Division is the following. We have oversight of all financial activities, accounting, purchasing, auditing, payroll, and financial reporting. We develop the annual budget. We process payroll biweekly, and we're responsible for the development and implementation of financial policies and procedures to manage all funds, including Measure Y sales tax. We also provide support to the commission and the Finance Committee and the Measure Y Oversight Committee. I just wanted to know there is one person that was missing because she had the flu that week. And she's our accountant, Jessica Raytano, and she's the one that made this budget book look so pretty. So I just wanted to mention her. Didn't want to leave her out. Our accomplishments. The accounting and payroll team has been working diligently in planning and implementing systems and best practices that support continued excellence in our work. These are highlights of what we've accomplished in the last several months in accounting procedures and in support of the commission's priorities. And they are, we received a successful independent audit of fiscal year 2024. We've enhanced our capital assets inventory management. We've implemented internal audit processes, and we've adopted best practices and fiscal control for grant management. Our team may not be at the front desk, but our impact is felt throughout the entire system. Our team monitors funding levels to support program staffing and service levels. We provide timely reporting for modernization projects. We support and provide reporting to the Measure Y Oversight Committee. We are fully staffed at this time, and our mantra is excellence and customer service. Our mighty team consists of 7 persons. Our resources allow us to meet our charge, which is to cover the cost of our annual audit, county accounting support, reporting requirements, and there is a net increase in salaries and benefits due to annualizing our salaries and health benefit costs. And we also have a net increases in resources, which represent costs in our use of the county's financial system. Execution of the reimagining plan and the Measure Y ordinance require commitment to consistent, transparent systems in place. The Budget and Accounting and Finance Services team, we continue to work toward a sustainable budget, partnering with the Finance Committee of the Commission to create strategies for the use of unassigned fund balance available for budgeting, including capital projects and other priorities. We are also updating our procedures system-wide for office supplies, and we continue to build on the reimagining plan. In support of the Measure Y library sales tax, we continue to work closely with our Measure Y Oversight Committee to provide information and any other support they may need from us. We continue to exercise fiscally sound policies and procedures, and we continue to ensure the allocation to Measure Y in line with our policies. Any questions?
Yeah, I have a question on biweekly payroll processing. Several years ago, in the deep, dark, distant time before you came on board, we used an outside firm to do the payroll processing. Do we still do that, or has it been brought in-house now?
We have the technical piece of distributing our funds. Our payroll checks are managed through a third-party vendor, it's IBS, but we have one very special payroll technician that processes all the supervisors approve the timesheets, but she ensures that they're accurate. She processes those. She processes all kinds of HR transactions to make sure that our payroll is on time and accurate.
Yeah, I have some other questions about your department, but we're going to go back to the beginning at some point. I just wanted to take this opportunity to correct what I said the last session when I was talking about, I said 400,000 out of sales tax dollars. This relates to page 1, whatever this is. Anyway, it's the sales tax slide in terms of allocation of Measure Y expenditures. And I said the wrong number. It's really $3.6 million of sales tax money to the city of Santa Rosa for the library building. And I just want to have a formal legal opinion about that, given the language of Measure Y and by extension, Measure W. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
I don't see any other hands. Thank you.
She said, "I need a pointer." I'm like, I'm not pointing at anybody. Ready? All right. Good afternoon, Chair Doyle, Commissioners, and Director DeBoe. Thank you for having me. I'm Suzanne Silva, Human Resources Manager, and I'm here to share our accomplishments for this year and goals for next year. This is our staff day photo from 2024, which was held at Becoming Independent, one of our community partners in Santa Rosa. Almost 300 staff attended, as well as a few commissioners. Some of you may see yourselves in the photo. Thank you for attending. I'd also like to thank our foundation who donated and some of our friends who also donated to some raffle prizes, even though they may not be here. We hope that you can attend this year's staff day, which will be coming up in October. The Human Resources Department manages all aspects of the employee lifestyle from hire to retire. We recruit and select staff that align with the organization's values and prepare them to carry out its mission and vision through onboarding and training. We maintain salary and benefits plans, ensure compliance with employment laws, advance EDIB programs, promote positive employee relations, negotiate and administer the labor contract, and provide employee support by ensuring a safe work environment. This year, our department has offered 137 trainings since July, including orientation and other specialized trainings for new hires, anti-harassment training for staff and supervisors, other supervisory training, EDI training, refresher courses on behavioral skills and HR policies. We've also been working on our NeoGov platform project. We completed our Insight, which is the recruiting module. We now have all applicant processes in one online portal. Our time to fill has decreased significantly due to this. We have Onboard, which provides a welcoming, personalized experience for our new hires with tailored portals and processes. Virtual checklists have replaced manual processes with automated paperless workflows. Using Learn, we can assign courses and monitor staff training with staff records. This is important for mandated training and professional certifications. We're now using this feature for new hires and some specialized courses, including defensive driver and mandated reporter training, and we'll soon be inviting all staff to create logins to this portal. With our recruitment, we've filled 31 vacancies, but we've also had a lot more internal promotions and transfers this year. Workers' comp, this is a big one. We've reduced our claims by 38%. Very excited about this. This is credited to a reduction in many factors, including increased emphasis on workplace safety measures, HR's involvement in ergonomic evaluations, recommendations, and resulting improvements. Some system-wide efforts include implementation of AMH, automated materials handling, using our delivery trucks with lift gates and powered lift dollies by the delivery drivers and branches, replacing outdated furniture with sit-to-stand desks, and training to perform work tasks safely. HR has worked very hard with our broker to reduce our claims and injuries, and we value that employee safety. Other accomplishments, we're completing our 2-year contract with Be the Change Consulting. Goals in this contract included 3-part training series for all managers and supervisors, including culturally responsive supervision, liberatory facilitation techniques, implicit bias training and microaggression training for supervisors and staff. We created affinity and mentorship groups for all BIPOC staff, where there's a safe space to talk about situations they've experienced, gain advice from their other BIPOC peers, as well as discuss strategies for advancement in the organization. We've revised our core competencies to make them more human-centered, and we'll be rolling them out to staff when we implement our new performance evaluation module. We also received input from the union when we did this process. Finally, we're in the initial stages of piloting a restorative facilitation process where staff can meet in an independent space to discuss and resolve issues, to talk with a colleague, and improve a work culture situation. This is important work in EDI, and we'll be conducting a train the trainers to be facilitators in May. Our budget. We have 6 staff. And we're currently recruiting, we have 1 vacancy and we're in a recruitment process right now. As the library has doubled in size and value over the course of my tenure at SCL, just like it is critical to have a fiscal audit, we'll be hiring a risk consultant to do a risk evaluation. Continued staff training and development opportunities are essential for the growth and sustainability of library services. Streamlining our processes will enable HR to focus on providing other services like wellness program and added proactive services. Our budget obviously is mostly salaries and services and supplies. We don't have any capital projects. Our impact on the community, how HR works with other SCL agencies to foster employee well-being by offering a supportive work environment, a living wage, competitive salaries and benefits, pensions, and flexible schedules. By taking part in local events sponsored by our community partner agencies and colleges, HR presents a positive face in the community. This includes creating opportunities for volunteers and high school interns through Lunch at the Library program and others, to name a few. People want to work for the library, as the numbers indicate. We hire talented staff from the community and promote them from within. Offering bilingual pay is an incentive that enables bilingual staff to better help our diverse library users. 21% of our staff are receiving bilingual pay. Increasing staff's exposure to and connection with their respective communities they serve results in a better quality of life for Sonoma County residents and our staff. The Workplace Violence Prevention Plan will be implemented with coordination of a representative of every location and the hiring of a safety consultant to help us remain in compliance with Cal OSHA requirements. We're implementing the final 2 modules of NeoGov Perform. The performance management model should go live within the first quarter of FY25. We've been meeting with the team weekly from NeoGov and making progress on our evaluation form. This has been a goal of mine for several years since coming to SCL, and I'm super excited. The ability to track progress of evaluations by running a simple query. The last module, e-forms, will enable us to build paperless internal forms such as wellness reimbursements, staff development, and conference requests. Finally, we'll be updating the employee handbook, and that will include most of the HR policies to make it a more useful tool for staff. Sales tax dollars provide the necessary funding for the HR department to meet its goal in being a good steward of public funds. Our team's role is to fulfill the library missions, vision, and values, and support other divisions that provide direct services to the community by hiring qualified staff whose values align with ours, providing them with opportunities to gain experience and learn, as stated in our vision and mission, and ensuring a safe, clean environment for staff and library users. That's just a part of any public agency. And finally, like I said, Staff Day 2025 will be held at the DoubleTree just down the street here.
Okay.
More to come. Oh, the 16th, we'll be bringing that to the commission, 16th of October. Yes, stay tuned. Do you have any questions?
Mr. Poles, raise your hand up.
Thank you. I just have a few questions. One about the claim reduction by 38% workman's comp, which is fabulous. Can you give me a number of how many claims, what 38% reduction is?
This year we've had 3 so far.
Okay,
So,
versus the year.
versus what we had previously.
Okay, so it's 30, okay, so it's.
Yeah, 38,
okay,
yeah, so.
Okay, got it. And do the claims, I mean, do the claims cluster around certain things? I heard you mention a lot of economic, chairs
Ergonomic
and-
evaluation.
Yes, sorry, not economic. And is that sort of the bulk of what tends to be the claims at the library, or?
Well, repetitive motion from
Right, of course,
shelving,
yeah.
and that's really what can be,
Okay.
that's really what
Okay.
a lot of the claims are, so we've taken measures to make
Right.
sure that people take breaks, give them the proper equipment and training, and just like I said, the lifts and things like that, so that they're not lifting so much, and repetitive, not doing the motion so frequently.
Okay, thank you. And then just a few other questions. When you mentioned core competencies, which I can't find the slide at this moment. Let me see. I'm sorry, I
Oh,
don't not
it's
have it.
on our accomplishments.
Okay. Yeah. Anyways, I wondered if you could just talk about what you mean by core, yeah, what does that mean?
Sure, core competencies are part of every employee's, what the teamwork, communication, training, civil,
Civil and
civil and ethical treatment of others. Yes. So we've revised them with our racial equity team and input from the union to make them more human-centered and, inclusive.
I don't know. The last question, thank you. The last question I have is the piloting of the restoration process. And will that be documented at HR level, or will that stay within, because that sounds to me it's within employee to employee trying to do the restorative justice was how I think about it. It's not the word you used. Is that how you're thinking about that? It's internal issues between coworkers, or am I misunderstanding what that is?
So perhaps like an employee may have some conflict or just an issue maybe with another employee. And so we're trying to mitigate something so that it doesn't become a potential disciplinary issue. So there may be a facilitator, potentially not me, or maybe not even the employee supervisor, someone so that's who we're training, is the facilitators. And they would have the employees meet together. There may be some level of documentation between like for the example, the employees would fill out a form so the facilitator could get some information with regards to that. But the process itself, unless there was going to be some type of report created about it, which would be confidential, it would be a confidential process. So we're trying to mitigate any type of discipline, because what our belief is that employees who can resolve any dispute or disparity would have a more conducive, harmonious workplace, and it would improve retention.
Other question, Commissioner McKenzie.
Yes, thanks very much, Suzanne. Early days, way back when Paul and I were on the commission long ago, we constantly prehistory, we constantly heard about timely evaluations, work comp costs, and what was the third one? Oh, filling the jobs quickly. And so it's evident from your presentation that all of those big problems have really been faced and dealt with. And I think the library's invested quite a bit of money in the work comp from the aspect of the ergonomic furniture and like you said, the automatic materials handling has probably had a big difference in that. I wasn't quite sure of those three, though, what you said about the timely evaluations. You were talking about the evaluation process there at the end, but I wasn't quite sure about the concern was with them being done on time or something like that. This was back in manual days when I guess forms were being filled out.
I do recall that there was some previous issues back in the day with when I first came here. There was required progress reports with regards to the evaluations, and we have we took an inventory about where we were on our evaluations, and we had to do that to get our information down, to put the information in the system with the vendor. So the library's made great strides in our progress with our current manual evaluation process, but in order to do our evaluations with the vendor and create an online form so that the information can be in the system, so that it can be the form will be in a platform, so the managers will be able to fill it out online, and the processes will be done in a platform just like the recruitments, so it won't be paper driven anymore. Oh, yeah, we're not quite there, but it'll be there by the first quarter of the next fiscal year. Yes.
Commissioner Cahill.
Yeah, one of your slides says that 21% of the staff is receiving bilingual pay. What's your goal for that figure?
Do we have a goal?
We might have one in our racial equity action plan. But I mean, I would hope that we would want to have a proportional number of bilingual staff to bilingual people in our community at a bare minimum. That is what we would want.
Okay, thanks.
In the county, the county is about 28% Latinx. And so to have over 20% of our community being bilingual is, I'm feeling pretty confident about that, and we don't limit the number of people that can receive the bilingual pay. Yes.
Yeah, Mr. Goldberg.
Kind of risk.
So risk involves property and workers' comp insurance, and also the fact that we're implementing a workplace violence prevention plan to be looking at like risk in terms of what are the components of our workplace violence prevention plan is, are there areas that are attractive to what it says actually in the plan, robberies, or, people hiding out. So, well-lit areas, or anything that exposes us to risk or liability. So we have a plan, we're putting it in place. And are there any weaknesses?
I don't see any other questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Right, facilities. Thank you, Dave.
Hello, Director Tebow, Commissioners. I'm Dave Tasheva, the Facilities Manager. I'm honored to be here presenting at this budget workshop today. Facilities and delivery are support staff. Our focus lies on the proficient and effective delivery of logistical solutions and other support services pertaining to real estate, material delivery, and vehicles. Our comprehensive approach to building maintenance ensures the built environment is functional, comfortable, safe, and efficient by integrating personnel, locations, processes, and technology. The photo on the right of this slide, you see facilities building mechanic Corlin Gabriel inspecting a man lift per safety protocols. Delivery drivers provide the sorting and delivery of more than 100,000 items per month to and from 14 branches. These services allow for an increased pool of possible physical checkouts, all while being performed efficiently, timely, and safely. On the left slide is delivery driver Matt Weston feeding the hungry AMH machine. Our proactive approach to facilities management aims to minimize the impact of building-related problems on the library's ability to serve its patrons. By addressing maintenance and repair needs promptly and efficiently, we strive to create a seamless and comfortable experience for all library users. The Petaluma Modernization Project, lower right, is currently under construction with completion anticipated within the current fiscal year and a targeted reopening in mid-July. The Healdsburg Modernization Project, upper left, is also currently under construction with a completion expected within this fiscal year and a targeted reopening at the end of June. The Cloverdale Patio Project, bottom left, is under construction as well, with a targeted completion date at the end of May. Our biggest impact has been that moment each ribbon gets cut. The upper left is our northwest location. Beneath that is the Guerneville location. Roseland's in the upper right and Windsor's on the lower right. The Library Facilities Division ensures efficient and responsive support for all library locations by assigning skilled staff to specific locations, by having continuous trade training, 24/7 building support, a preventative maintenance program, branch improvements, modernization projects, and infrastructure projects, which all I will go over on a later slide. With a total budget of $5.3 million, facilities and delivery have 14 FTE. We support 17 buildings, 11 vehicles, 11 departments, a bibliobus, and 1 AMH automated materials handling unit, with more coming. We are supported by the Library Capital Improvement Fund and the library's operational budget.
Our unwavering commitment to accessibility and equity has been the driving force behind our remarkable achievements. This commitment embraces the values, vision, and spirit of our reimagining plan while maintaining balanced relationships with all our partners. The facilities ADA transition plan, the facilities master plan, and the capital improvement team have all share the values of the reimagining plan. Library sales tax revenue funds facilities projects, capital improvements. Facilities manages the following types of projects: modernization projects, small projects, infrastructure projects, and maintenance projects. The coming fiscal year, we haven't funded a modernization project yet, but we do have a few small projects. Sebastopol's return room, staff room, and teen room, H&G's staff workstations and furnishings. We also have an infrastructure project. An infrastructure project covers the creation, improvement, and upkeep of important physical systems and facilities that are essential, like energy, water, and climate control. We have one major infrastructure project planned for FY26, and that's the electrical system and HVAC replacement at the Annex History and Genealogy Building. Lastly, we have maintenance projects. Maintenance projects deal with assuring that all elements of the infrastructure are serviced so they operate efficiently and are reliable and safe. It includes scheduling and conducting regular, periodic, predictive, preventative, and corrective maintenance activities. This year, we are requesting funding for two major maintenance projects. That would be the Rohnert Park Interior and Carpet Paint Project and the Santa Rosa Central Interior Carpet and Paint Project, all made possible by sales tax revenue. Any questions?
Any questions for Dave? Really terrific. Thanks, Dave.
So July, Petaluma, July for sure.
We're pretty confident, like,
I mean, I've been hearing that for so many years.
well, so many different Julys, right?
That's true.
Which fiscal year?
Every
Did I even
July.
say that?
But I'll ask for you. No, I was kidding.
Yeah.
Thank you for all your work on that. That's great.
You're very welcome.
It looks like a bowling alley when you.
Kind of does right now.
Yeah, it does.
Really terrific. Thank you very much. And thank your staff. Let's talk about IT. Let's.
Good afternoon, Library Commissioners, Director Tebow, CFO Myrna Lopez. My name is Mike Daw. I'm the library's Information Technology Manager. I've been here 22 years. I first came on board in 2003 in preparation of the library's migration to the Horizon ILS, and I've been here ever since. I've been through many years of change, evolutions, and the library is growth, dynamic change. Today, I have the pleasure to speak with you about library's budget and priorities for this coming fiscal year. Information technology, yes, indeed. I wish I could change well, we research, purchase, deploy, and support all the technology the libraries use. Illustrated here, Bridget Hayes and Graham Tretton are doing just that, preparing for an event at the Central Santa Rosa Library. Featured right there, Bridget Hayes and Ronald Saarinen adeptly pivoted in the midst of a global Zoom outage today. IT's overarching responsibilities focus on 5 separate areas: library computing, staff and public computers, peripherals, and interactive technologies such as 3D printing, automated sorters, and our biblioboxes. The network and cybersecurity, which includes our email system, our network connecting all of the libraries, as well as security. Information systems include the Horizon ILS and the BiblioCommons public catalog for discovering and checking out library materials, as well as e-resources such as Coursera and LinkedIn Learning for our patrons' educational pursuits. We focus on 2 separate websites, both the public and the staff intranet, as well as, and most importantly, providing internet access, both in our buildings for our patrons and in their homes or wherever else they may be. I was also about to say next slide. This fiscal year has been a great year for us. We've made a lot of achievements. We've supported 3 separate building projects, including Healdsburg, which will be the first branch to debut a sorter opening in this summer. We've deployed over 100 new educational laptops and carts for our classes being held in our library, such as our digital literacy classes. We've continued our BiblioBox program, expanding to both Central and Rohnert Park Cotati, as well as Petaluma receiving their BiblioBox as part of their modernization project. Once New Roseland opens, all regional libraries in Sonoma County will have a BiblioBox for Holtz pickup 24/7, 365. This year, we also finalized our self-checkout project, putting new equipment in operation in all of our libraries except the Occidental branch. And I must mention our awesome public catalog, BiblioCommons. Debuting last October, it now provides public with a state-of-the-art experience to find all the titles they want in all of the formats they want whenever they want them. It also provides direct access to larger or broader topic areas. For example, on screen and in your packets is a search for Spanish children's stories, which takes people to those stories in those languages. This enhanced experience impacts all library users, staff, public, commissioners, volunteers, anyone who uses the library in Sonoma County and beyond. And IT's impacts do not stop there. We work very hard helping bridge the digital divide in our community. Libraries are gateways to the world of information, and the IT team helps open those doors by providing technology and access for all of our users. This access begins by making sure that those connections are safe and secure. One of the biggest focal points for IT this year is replacing our core firewall that's reaching its end of life. It helps protect the library from thousands of intrusion attempts on a daily basis. This project will put a new piece of state-of-the-art equipment that's going to help our libraries for the next 7+ years. On top of the safe access to the internet, we provide devices used by patrons of all ages to access our resources. Starting in Windsor this spring, we updated all of our public computers to Windows 11, as well as providing modern productivity software suites, providing them excellent customer experience in our libraries. For staff, they're getting new computers as well. Over 60 staff computers will be delivered as part of our annual computer cascade process. Our budget request for fiscal year 2026 is roughly $4.7 million. We have 12 people on staff in 9 specialized fields. And during this last year, we recruited for 2 positions due to recent retirements. They've been excellent hires. All in all, I am very proud of all of the IT staff, their ability to shift and pivot on a moment's notice. Our time's dedicated to providing the equipment and access in our buildings, supporting the building projects, and also providing the resources people need to access the information they need. Also on the slide, you'll notice the other charges. Other charges are the lease-to-own fees related to our heavily used public printing that we see in our libraries. IT's reimagining efforts focus on providing opportunities for all to learn, contribute, interact, and participate. We strive to provide technology and access to resources that people might not otherwise have. Central to accessing the library's collections is the integrated library system horizon. I mentioned at the beginning that I was brought on board 22 years ago in preparation for the migration to our current system. We've upgraded many times through the years. However, it's dated. Its functionality is limited. We need a new system that's adaptable to change as our staff and our public and our communities. A system that expands our ability to provide our resources, and a system that integrates more closely with California's Link Plus program, which brings a wealth of information to people at all of our libraries. Another goal for IT is providing accessible audio-video equipment. Pictured here in partnership with the city of Santa Rosa, you'll see a very successful recent teen podcasting class. You can see that the equipment in act, we also have three sound studios and 2 separate libraries that are getting more and more use, so people can come not only take our information, but create and learn as express themselves. And I can't help but mention our sustained efforts to provide our lendable internet lending program, which has a fleet of over 1,500 devices that we allow people to check out 3 weeks at a time. Our overreaching goal is to provide modern equipment, technology, and again, access for people in building and wherever they may be in our community, wherever they may need us most. Key to those efforts is the library sales tax initiatives. With them, the library can extend our services to meet the needs of our public. Searching and discovery is a big part. I've already mentioned BiblioCommons. Well, since its launch, we've also provided its accompanying mobile app for people to use, and for staff to create tools to create browsable lists of the titles that they want. And we're also looking to add more functions to the mobile app as well, such as self-checkout, which is more flexible for the user. We have 3D printing in all of our libraries, which has become very popular, with hold queues filled out for the entire days at places like Northwest Santa Rosa, Petaluma Regional Library, and Windsor Regional Library. The 3D printing, it's not just about trinkets. People use them to print replacement parts for things that they might have at home, prototype new inventions, and also create artwork. It's about creativity, not only for the public, for the staff. And in our buildings, we want to provide internet access wherever people are comfortable using it. We have our public computers at our tables, and we also have our laptop lending kiosks where they can use the computers wherever they are most comfortable. With the support of the library tax measures, we want to ensure that there's always public computers ready for use. All in all, with public support, IT works to help the library's efforts to enhance people's lives. And with that, I'd like to ask for any questions.
Terrific, thanks very much. Paul, you first then.
Yes, 2 questions. One under other charges. I noticed for this year, we had 57,500. Next year, you have budgeted 30,000. Does it, I mean, I know that includes like Xeroxing and things like that, but is that all 3D printing too?
No.
Josh?
3D printing, we purchased 3D printers. This involves the coin boxes for the computer system.
Okay.
And we're at the end of we're at the end of a 5-year lease to own process for those, and that's why the charges.
Gotcha. So printing would be under resources.
Yes.
Gotcha. And then my second question is expanding the internet. And I think you and I had talked about this. It was after the fires, or where people were coming to the Petaluma Fairgrounds and being able to use the internet without having to go into the library, just sitting outside.
Yeah.
And is that going to be part of the plan to expand that so that other libraries can have that? I mean,
Well,
It was great. I mean, we had our parking lot filled up with people using the internet.
So in our libraries, over the course of the last 4 years, and it's two fiscal years ago, we had two separate grants where we've updated all of the systems in our library, but we've also enabled external use for all of our libraries. So anybody 24/7, 365, just like our holds boxes, people can come and use our libraries. We also have, the hotspots are a Band-Aid for our society, but we lend those out. People take them wherever we want. And we also have the Sonomify kits, which are more like a pop-up internet cafe, which staff take out to events. And we've also had community partners check those out as well if there's any need. And we've had times when they're used for power outages and could be used in emergency events as well.
Great. Thank you.
Not a question so much as an experience and an appreciation. I recently went to the library with a friend who had not been in the library for 15 years since her children were young. And we got her library card. We checked the laptop out of the kiosk.
Awesome.
Got her signed up for Canopy. I gave her a little orientation of BiblioCommons. She was so impressed, particularly with the while you are waiting feature. I walked her through checkout and I showed her the BiblioBox.
Right.
And it was actually her birthday outing. And she said, this is the best birthday present ever. It was really fun for me to see all this at work at once through the eyes of someone who hadn't seen it before. So that's it. This is an appreciation.
Thank you.
Mr. Bober.
I have two questions. BiblioCommons, what's the relationship with BiblioCommons to the upgrade that you want the ILS?
Two separate things. So the Horizon, the ILS is the staff functionality that provides acquisitions for Jamie's department to purchase, catalog the materials, as well as for our staff to check out and circulate the equipment. All ILSs come with a public catalog to use that you can do basic searching with. BiblioCommons is the premier discovery tool that provides the best way that people can actually engage with the library system.
Makes sense, yeah. And then I've been curious, how do you assess if a new thing that you've implemented, whether it's the BiblioBox or whatever it is successful? Like if you have 5-year leases on these things, I don't know how it works. How do you assess, yes, this is something that's working that we want to keep? Nice experiment, but let's forget that. How do you do that in your areas?
A number of facets. Staff input is key to that because they're the people that are actually in front of the equipment using them with the patrons. Statistics that we gather, the durability of the equipment. Good example of that is we invested in something called a hublet. They were the colored tablets at our branches that people could check out and use them. It was a really good idea. And they just became cumbersome to use. The staff were had lost faith in them, so patrons weren't checking them out, and their statistics had plummeted. So we came to a decision this past year that we were no longer going to be investing in that, and in favor of that, we moved to the laptop lending kiosk where people can use a full-fledged laptop at that point. All of our resources, such as the laptop lending kiosk, have monthly circulation statistics or use statistics, and that feeds into the determination whether to continue investing in those things.
Thanks.
Mr. McKenzie.
Thank you, Mike. Excellent presentation. I'm always impressed by our IT department and everything that we just have so reliable. We just always can count on it, and the new ideas and the new implementation. So thank you all. Just a small question. You mentioned a new sorter for the Healdsburg. Is that the same, or how is it different from the automatic materials handling part?
It's the automatic materials handler. Sorter for short. They're the first branch to get it. I believe it's a 6-bin system that's going to have an external book drop for people to use when we're outside of hours, as well as an internal book drop that I should say, induction that people can use. They'll be the first branch to take advantage of that assisted
So
technology.
those are interchangeable terms then, AMH and sorter. Okay,
Correct. Sorry about that.
great. Thank you very much.
Fishbowl.
Echoing all the other commissioners who have spoken, just very impressive presentation and always admire your work. Before I became a commissioner, I felt myself to be a very sophisticated library user. I was an educator, I was a teacher, an educator, and I have been blown away since I've been a commissioner what I did not know existed. And I figure if I didn't know 3/4, and I'm just wondering, how do you get all this? How do you have patrons find these things? I guess is what was I'm saying. And I just would be curious, because that's part of it. You can have an incredible system, but if no one knows it's there.
With the help of all of our staff is the first part. We have the community engagement division manager here to speak about what she's doing with our staff. Publicity on our social media and through our marketing is another way we promote these things. Word of mouth, coming and having new people use them. And it's unsurprising that people don't know that the library has at times. And the more we get out and talk to our family, talk to our friends, and they talk grassroots, and then just getting people in and starting to use those things.
And I will add to that, as part of the Speakers Bureau, that was one of the things that we talked about in our Speakers Bureau presentations. And I still do those, presentations with the foundation. And our staff, on the ground when they're dealing with patrons on a day-to-day basis. I actually saw the librarians from Rincon Valley give a presentation to a women's group that I belong to, and I learned something new from them. So it's, even you can work here and still not know about everything that we're doing. It's just really incredible.
And just to thing, I personally feel like that's part of a commissioner's job, is to help with that part. And so I would love us to ever think about, like, really specifically how we can be helpful, because I feel like promoting the library is part of our mission in all its facets. So just something beyond the usual thing.
One of the coolest things that we did this last year, 2 commission meetings, I think, is the chapter book presentations in preparation for Measure-Wise renewal. And each of the divisions came up and kind of doing this sort of a presentation, but really focusing on one presentation a month about what we do to educate you all about all the good things that we can do. And I think that's one of the best ways that we can start making sure that all of the commissioners, as we have some new faces in the room, can continue to learn those things.
One of the things, we all belong to the chamber. And so I'm going to the Windsor Chamber next month and moderating something, and then we'll tell them these are the new things that are going on with the library. So there are all kinds of community groups that we should probably come up with a matrix and have a conversation about that without stepping on staff toe. Right. I have any other question? I've got a question. You talked about the firewall and how it might be reaching end of life, and you're moving into a different kind of firewall. Was I mislistening?
No, that's accurate. All computer and all technology has a lifespan.
Yeah.
And so our firewall is reaching the end of its lifespan. And so just like with our computers and our laptops, it's time for
So we're
it
getting,
replacement.
so that's in the budget.
Yes,
Okay, good.
absolutely.
All right, that's the
Absolutely.
answer. And then also, this is partly because I just came back from Washington, but I can remember after 9/11, I can remember lots of conversations at the San Francisco Public Library about protecting people's privacy and protecting people's what they were reading, what they were looking at. Yep. And things have changed a lot recently in terms of technology and what technology can read and that sort of thing. And given the flavor in Washington, I think it's important that we protect our customers' privacy. And so I'm not sure, are you thinking about that? Is that something that you factor in as you're using the software? And
well, that's part of our it's part of our policies of protecting of personally identifiable information. So with the ILS, we don't track reading history. That's all purged out. Our public computers are set so that it's called deep freeze. Every time you log in and use it for 5 minutes or 2 hours or however long. When it's rebooted, it reboots to a factory reset session. So everything you did throughout is completely wiped. We can't even get access to what you might have done. And so we don't track any of the information from people.
Okay, good. I thought that was an important thing for us to hear as a commission and also for people who are listening to this meeting to hear as well. Thank you very much. Really terrific for your.
Thank you.
All right. Mr. Holly.
So while Lisa's pulling that up, I wanted to point out that there's 9 of these presentations and you've heard 6. So this is your 7th inning stretch. So wiggle whatever you need to wiggle. You've got 3 more. Four more? Oh, sorry, 4 more. It's a 10-inning game.
Go Giants.
Are we okay? All right. Well, good afternoon, Chair Doyle, Commissioners, Director Tebow, Ray Hawley, your communications manager. Our small but mighty communications team provides a high level of service to the library. Our job is to engage the community about the benefits, the impacts, and the magic of libraries. The communications team tells our library story to the world. We act as in-house consultants and advisors in marketing, public affairs, advocacy, public information, graphics, video, signage, branding, advertising, crisis communications, and other support for library staff and the library family. This includes newspaper and radio ads, posters, brochures, maps, media relations, email newsletters, social media, and signs and banner programs. Your library marketers handle all primary press contacts, and we are all experienced communicators. We know how to work with the media and help reporters do their jobs. We handle the main system social media accounts and our very successful email marketing program. Our graphic designers are professional creative artists with decades of experience in digital and print design, sign programs, and branding. One of our graphic artists actually worked for Mattel and helped design Barbie. You've probably heard of Barbie. We help our community appreciate the power of libraries. In addition to all aspects of marketing, our team helps define the library's voice. In the media, at local government meetings, and anywhere library leaders need to be to represent the interests of the library and the community. We are deeply committed to equity and access, and we assist and support library teams and programming that are focused on diversity, equity, and inclusion. After all, libraries are for everyone. Communications is about engaging with the community, and we do. Our team is responsible for thousands of minutes of radio interviews and advertising, thousands of square inches of newspaper and magazine ads, dozens of monthly media coverage items, and you'll see some examples up there. Tens of thousands of posters, flyers, signs, banners, bookmarks, stickers, website and social media images, and hundreds of thousands of social media impressions. We create branding standards for the library, as well as style guides that cover all forms of written and visual communication. We also look outward, and our team plays a key role in how we work with local government partners or members on funding, advocacy, and more. Our team supports many, many aspects of library services, from payroll forms to program and event branding, outdoor signs and banners to fundraising. Consistent and effective signage is important in a large and dispersed agency like ours, and we work closely with other teams to provide reliable and helpful visual tools for the community. This year, we reached and surpassed 50% market penetration. More than half Sonoma County residents have a library card. And other library, we bragged about it a little bit. Other library marketers are contacting me to ask how we did it. And the answer is that we worked really hard. We're also reaching out, learning, and being humble as we continually work to make our communications more accessible, more effective, more inclusive. We have 5 staff. That number has been consistent for the past few years. I do want to call out our extra help staff. We do have an extra help graphic designer, Lauren Carr, who's been with the library longer than I have and is known internally as Otto's mom. Lauren designed the original Otto figure and continues to iterate Otto. While we use our library funding for signage, printing, advertising, and other form of communication, our primary investment is our team of professional designers, marketers, and writers. We can and we do help staff one-on-one. Any staff member who wants to work with a professional writer, editor, marketer, sign designer, or graphic artist is welcome to ask for support, and they do. We're here to assist and uplift our colleagues and generate positive impacts in the community. In this fiscal year, our proposed budget is $1,028,488, and we spend those funds on people and marketing tools. Our key non-personnel expense categories are advertising, signage, and printing. That's an example of one of our newspaper ads in the bottom left. Community-informed communications and marketing goes beyond picking the right radio station or designing a clever logo, although we do that too. Our communications team is committed to the promises of the library sales tax and our reimagining plan. Our messaging is welcome by design, inclusive by intention. We want everyone to picture themselves at our libraries. And as you know from last year with our economic impact report, we are stressing the value of your library card. That's especially important to people now with the cost of eggs. Our goals this year are not surprising. We will continue to excel and offer exemplary services, such as maintaining and increasing library card usage, supporting our coworkers who serve the public, and keeping our eye on the ball on the Roseland project. Excellent library services require staff, innovation, and effort from every aspect of the library system, and we do our part. We're part of a system-wide team that supports library modernization projects with bilingual messages and positive media coverage. And we played a key role in the public education campaign last year that led to the successful renewal and ongoing permanent fiscal sustainability of the Sonoma County Library. Happy to answer questions.
Thank you. Ray, I wanted to also thank you. When I first came on the commission just a few months ago, you were the first person to reach out to me, and I really appreciate that. But I was going to go back to your budget, and what surprise, go back, where are we? Is both of your, both people and request for resources is lower this year, and that's just unusual. So especially the people, and I just wondered if you could talk about that in a little more detail.
These things are always situational. Our budget is partly down because we had a vacancy for quite a long time, and we had some special expenses. The same in resources. We had the commission authorized an additional expenditure last year so we could experiment with commercial television advertising, and the resources, the dip in resources is a result of us ending that experiment. It was a lot of fun, and I'm unclear if we could measure the outcome from it. So we're not going to continue with that.
Ms. McKenzie.
And I would like to add something too. So one of the things you'll see in some of the budgets is that when we have a vacancy, when Myrna prepares the budget, she does the salary and benefits for vacancies at the top step of the step ladder. But when we hire, we may hire somebody. We base it on their experience and their skills, and so we may hire somebody at a lower step. So we budgeted the top step, but when we hire, we may not be paying the top step. So we do see some adjustments based on that.
Very wise. Ms. McKenzie.
Yes, thank you, Ray. I'm always so pleased. All of our materials are so classy and professional, and it's consistently excellent for everything that your department puts out. So thank you to you and everyone. I did want to mention, and you called it out at the very end, that the extra responsibilities your department had last year to really get the public aware. It was a subtle thing. It wasn't about voting for the check, but it was like, look at all the stuff the library is doing. And the message was really clear and powerful and everywhere. And one of my favorite moments, I actually was laughing. I was pulling into the Roanoke Park Library. You'll pull over to the right. And exactly right in front of me was this huge Sonoma County Library thing on the back of a bus. And so it was just like library here and library, anyway, the word was out there, and I applaud you all for doing excellent job in public education and having such a high quality of the work that you've done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Evans?
I second that, Ray. Thank you very much for all you do and
Thank
your
you,
team.
Commissioner.
One of the things, and this has to do with recruitment for the labs and other, is to get the youth coming to the library. And I understand only old folks use Facebook now, for example. Kids don't touch it. So what are we doing as far as advertising? And I mean, I even thought of podcasts. Why don't we do a podcast every week or something to bring more of the youth in, because they do listen to podcasts. Is there any plan to modernize how we try to do our outreach?
Sure.
Yeah.
That's an ongoing process for us.
Okay.
I'm one of those elderly Facebook users. Facebook is our largest and most potent social media reach at the moment.
Uh-huh.
We have more than 10,000 followers on the system account alone, and probably many, many thousands more if you count all the branch accounts.
How many of those below 50 years old?
I could actually look.
I'm kidding.
Facebook provides those analytics, but I don't know. We are experimenting with other things. We've been advertising with Spotify now for about a year. And that was a result of the suggestion from a younger staffer. And we are constantly looking at other social media platforms. We're experimenting with Blue Sky right now, so look for us on Blue Sky. And we're looking at, we would love to do a podcast. Mike mentioned that there was a teen podcast workshop. We simply don't have the staff capacity for it right now. Sure. Our new marketing specialist, who starts in mid-May, is coming to us from Sonoma State and has been marketing very successfully to that age demographic. So it's going to bring a lot of interesting experience and capacity to our team. Yeah.
Anybody else? I will echo what everybody has said, and we'd like to help. So I think now that the ballot measure has been successful, we're delighted to look outward and brag about the library a lot. So do let us know how we can help.
Thank you. If I could add one more thing, it's inherent in everything everyone's saying today. Pivoting, multitasking, task switching, whatever you want to call it. We're all doing that all the time. I wrote some talking points this morning about a tree. I mean, things are just constantly coming down. And if you like that, then you'll thrive on this management team, because we're all doing that. And someone who does that really well is up next, Jamie Anderson, our Collection Services Division Manager.
Thanks, Fred.
All right, good afternoon. Thank you, Ray. That was very kind. My name's Jamie Anderson, Collection Services Division Manager, and I'm excited to share with you some of our goals, accomplishments, and our budget for next fiscal year. The Collection Services Division creates equitable access to information by curating a diverse collection for the community to check out and enjoy. We provide physical and digital materials for all ages in multiple languages and multiple formats such as large print books, newspapers, DVDs, research databases, and streaming movies. The collection serves everyone, from the young child who is learning to read to researchers who utilize our historical collections. The collection services staff select all of our new books and materials in accordance with our collection development policy. Staff manages the complex process of ordering, receiving, and cataloging each item so the public can discover titles in the online catalog. Staff physically prepare materials for circulation by applying barcodes, Mylar, and other identifying labels. Collection services staff also runs the Link Plus service, which allows patrons to request materials from other libraries in the state. Link Plus adds access to another 5 million titles beyond our walls. There are 3 accomplishments that I would like to highlight this year. We established, as you may recall, a romance collection, Commissioner Cahill's favorite collection, I believe. Yes, a little competition there. So separating romance from the general fiction collection is helping our patrons more easily locate and browse this genre. Romance has exploded in popularity the last 5 years. It is currently the fastest growing genre in retail book sales. By establishing this collection, we responded to changing community needs, increased its visibility in the libraries, and can more easily monitor the growth and track the progress of this genre. Second accomplishment are the groundwork grants. These were funds made available to institutions with historically and culturally significant collections. Last year, just a little background on the grants. Last year, the library participated in a program called Ready or Not Cultural Heritage Disaster Preparedness Project. This involved consultants coming on site for 5 days, visiting various locations in Sonoma County that house our special collections. The consultants then provided a final emergency preparedness report for each of the locations that they visited with recommendations on how we can improve our physical building security and the protection of our fragile collections. It was by participating in those consultations that we were then eligible to apply for the groundwork grants. We applied for 5 groundwork grants and we were awarded 3 at our History and Genealogy Library, our Wine Library, and the Petaluma History Room in Petaluma. Those grants totaled over $40,000. The grant funds were then spent on things such as disaster kits, preservation supplies, environmental monitoring equipment, new shelving, some of which will be debuting when Healdsburg and Petaluma reopen, and staff training and emergency preparedness. So with the grant funds, we were really able to position ourselves better to be more resilient with any future disasters or emergencies that we might experience. And thirdly, the Palace ebook expansion. The Palace Project app, if you're not familiar with it, it houses multiple ebook and e-audiobook collections all in one place. It currently has over 245,000 titles. Palace is the only library app offering titles from Amazon Publishing and Audible Studios. This is important because there are some titles that patrons have been asking us to procure that prior to Palace, we were not able to source them as a public library. And with the introduction of Palace, now we can. Last year, we got a $40,000 eBooks for All grant through the state library. This year, the year we're still in, we received an additional $20,000 eBooks for All grant. And we've just applied for the next round, the 25-26 eBooks for All grant opportunity. However, unfortunately, the Palace Project is entirely funded by the IMLS, and all of those eBooks for All grants are in jeopardy. So we don't know exactly what the future is going to hold for Palace, and also we're anticipating that grant not being awarded next year, but we'll see. In 2024, as it was mentioned in the opening remarks, we had a landmark year for our circulation. So the library reached a milestone of over 1.3 million digital checkouts in Libby. The Libby app, if you haven't used it, provides users with 24/7 access to ebooks, e-audiobooks, and e-magazines. Our checkouts for ebooks and e-audiobooks have increased, as Director Thibault mentioned earlier, about 27%, and they've increased that amount the last 3 years. So those figures have been compounding. This is really a reflection of the growing community need for a robust digital collection. As has also been mentioned, we are the 6th most checkouts in the state for Link Plus. There are 70 member libraries that participate in Link Plus. In 2024, our patrons requested over 21,000 items through Link Plus, which was about a 7% increase over the year before. Patrons really love the Link Plus service. It's reflected in our library being consistently among either the top 5 or the top 6 in the state month after month, with the highest amount of borrowed items. Our patrons know that if we don't have a title they want, the chances are likely that they can get it through Link Plus. And then lastly, in 2024, we enjoyed the highest number of checkouts in our organization's history at 4.4 million. Yeah. All right. Our proposed budget for next fiscal year is just over 2 million for the people category of collection services, which is 20 staff members, and just a little bit over 4 million in the resources category. The majority of that goes to books, media, subscriptions, databases, e-resources, as well as our Link Plus subscription and various supplies. One of the goals of the Reimagining Plan is to foster racial equity and inclusion for everyone. As part of this work, we set a goal back in 2018 of increasing the diversity of our collection to 30%. I talked about this at last year's budget workshop. When we started tracking this metric, we were at 16%. At this time, we're now at 26%, which is tremendous progress toward that goal. We'll see where we are this time next year. This year, our bilingual collection development librarian, pictured here, Christina Hansen, went to the Guadalajara International Book Fair in Mexico to purchase Spanish language materials. If you're not familiar with this fair, it's the 2nd largest book fair in the world. It is huge, with over 900,000 attendees. Attending this fair also supports our equity goals. We're able to increase authentic representation in the collection with books that aren't available to us to source here in the United States. Publishers at this fair include those from Spain, Mexico, Central, and South America. We've also continued this year to support library collections for children. Each month we purchase new picture books, board books, bilingual children's books for our youngest patrons. We're also seeing comics, graphic novels, and manga growing in popularity with kids and teens especially, and we've increased our purchases in these areas. By maintaining library collections, we are keeping our promise to the voters who passed the sales tax measure. Approximately 40% of the materials budget comes directly from the sales tax revenue. In 2024, we were able to purchase over 75,000 physical items and over 172,000 digital items. These are primarily ebooks and e-audiobooks. And we continued offering Link Plus as a way to provide access to an additional 9 million titles. So I'd like to end by sharing a patron comment about Link Plus. This patron stated that Link Plus is, quote, the gift that keeps on giving. I have esoteric tastes in books, movies, and music. This excellent service gives me access to 90% more of everything. Most pleasing is the speed and efficiency of the program. I am a library junkie and Link Plus has made my life better. That concludes my presentation. Are there any questions?
I'm actually going back. Thank you so much. Echo everything that patron says. I wonder if we just look at your proposed budget overview, and again, just noticing that you're asking for less money for people and less money for resources, and just always want to know when it goes in that direction.
Yes. So in the budget book on page 40, 43, CFO says 43. Yes, page 43. Each division has a little explanation about any variances like that. So for people, the decrease is due to annualizing positions from the prior year. And for the resources category, we are not budgeting for that ebooks grant in next fiscal year. So that's a portion of it, as well as increases in other services such as Link Plus.
Other question. Commissioner McKenzie.
Thank you. Very impressive presentation. I have two questions. One is under the diversity.
Do you have your mic on?
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I have two questions. One is under the diversity collection goal. What exactly does diversity mean? Is it only language, or
Not at all.
how do you look at that?
Sure, we monitor a variety of different categories using a tool called Collection HQ. So it's everything from religious diversity, sexual and gender diversity, language diversity. There are many different categories, racial diversity, etc. I could get you a full list if you would like to see that.
Okay, so then how do you monitor whether how much, you know, it gets looked at and used, and or do you? I mean, do you have any?
We do. We have metrics that we look at each month through the tool I mentioned, Collection HQ.
So is it, have you seen expanded interest, and, you know, like what we're doing is effective and positive and getting looked at?
In terms of like correlating those increases in diversity to actual circulation.
Yeah,
in
are
those
we
areas?
addressing something that people are really interested in?
Yeah. I mean, we've definitely seen an increase in those materials checking out for sure.
Okay. My other question, I just was just curious if you have any way of quantifying, or if it's even relevant at all, the gifts from the different friends groups when they are asked for money for actual collection purposes. Does that, I know it didn't apply to the budget figures, but does that apply to just the number, the size of our collections, or does that roll in anywhere in your numbers?
They're included in all of the numbers. We don't track them separately in terms of this title was purchased with friends money, this title was not.
Yeah, no, but if they ask for, you know, like thousands of dollars, I mean, thousands of books are purchased, they're added, they're part of, they're captured in the number, the size of our collection.
The size of our collection, the figures, the circulation and the usage of our collection, yes, they are all included.
Thank you. And then my last question, which I forgot that I was going to ask you, was last year there was quite a bit of concern about the cost of all the resources, and you know how we were dealing with that, and wondering if you could give us an update about that.
Where to start?
Well, we have a balanced budget, and I can tell you that I will be asking the foundation to augment our ebook collection. If we do indeed not get that eBooks for All grant, I will be asking the foundation to help us with that in my budget request to them next fiscal year.
So the demand is really high, the cost is still really high.
Yes,
really
the cost is continuing to increase.
not really able to keep up.
Well, and the publishers are not, I mean, there's a difference between the price of an ebook for a person and the price of an ebook for the library, and how many times you can use it. And so publishers are resistant, shall we say, to, and they have perfectly good arguments about why their books are so expensive, because it has to be read by everybody. It has to be read by all kinds of equipment and that sort of thing. But it's not going to go down, I don't think. So we're all having interesting conversation, is especially since publishers and libraries are also fighting for the freedom to read. So you don't want to,
Yeah.
you don't want to have robust conversations, robust cranky conversations with the people that you're trying to, save the world with.
Right.
Yeah.
Fighting on all fronts. I did think of one more question that absolutely will be done. At one point in time, we were leasing books, high popularity books. Are we still doing that?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
Yes, we're actually currently evaluating that right now. We evaluate it every spring, this time of the year, to see if we want to keep doing it next fiscal year.
Okay.
But yes, we have been doing that since 2018, I think,
Yeah.
consistently. Mhm.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thanks for everything.
Any other questions? I have a question. Many of the friends do like to buy books for the branches. And so is there a conversation with the branch managers and the department about, if they're suddenly the friends want to buy something, I'm making it up, in Portuguese, and it maybe doesn't fit the collection design for the entire library. Do you have conversations with the staff about that, or the friends about that? I should know this answer.
I believe the branch managers develop their wish lists.
And then they come to
pitch
you
it
and,
to their friends group. Yes, we collaborate if it's relating to the collection, but generally they have a good sense of what's needed at their branch.
okay, thank you.
Of course, always within the parameters of the collection development policy we all
Okay.
follow. Yeah.
Good to know. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Community engagement.
Yes,
I'm engaged.
let's go. All right. Okay. So good afternoon, Commissioners, Director Thibault. My name is Jessica Romero, and I am your Community Engagement Division Manager. Our mission is to allow curiosity and creativity to flourish within our libraries. We provide innovative, educational, culturally relevant, and fun programming. We meet the community where they are within and outside of our libraries. We engage our community, learn about them, listen to their needs, and partner with them to bring their ideas to life. We heard the need for library services that would help our kids going through our juvenile justice system. Pictured above, you will see our brand new Los Gilicos Juvenile Hall Library, brought to life by Scott Jones. And I believe you guys heard about this at the March Commission meeting. And you guys will be visiting soon, which will be really exciting. In this space, residents can learn, read, and feel like kids again. We heard when the community said they wanted to pick up holds during our Bibliobus community stops. Hold pickups will go live this month. Yes. We heard when the community said they wanted to see more of themselves in our programming and our performers. And as a result, we have been more conscientious. We have consciously hired more performers of color. We have made sure that our performers, our programs are more culturally relevant so that the community can indeed see themselves in our programming. Using programming like Lunch at the Library, Lectura Fest, digital literacy classes, Zine Fest, story times, the Teen Film Festival that happens it's usually every August, but this year it's going to be in September. And Game On, we actively build relationships with the community we serve. Our amazing library branches and outreach team consistently meet the community where they are and discover where we are needed most. Our partners like the NAACP, Latino Service Providers, Children's Museum of Sonoma County, Land Paths, Progressive Tribal Alliance, and more join forces with us to ensure that we reach people who may not know about the amazing free resources that the library has to offer. Pictured here, you'll see Grammy Award-winning artist Andres Undostres, who's a children's musician that we had out at the Central Santa Rosa Library.
And you will also see on the right, Chicky Boom, who is a clown of sorts, who hails from San Jose, who has been making the rounds at our libraries recently. And it is a joy to have them both. So we have 15 staff. 2 of them are part-time. So community engagement consists of myself, 3 library service administrators, 3 event coordinators, 1 education initiatives librarian, 1 outreach services supervisor, and an outreach services librarian, 1 juvenile hall and reentry services librarian, the literacy team, which consists of a literacy supervisor, and they are housed at the Central Santa Rosa Library, which consists of a literacy supervisor, 2 literacy associates, and 1 literacy specialist. A special shout out to our regular extra help staff, Mark and Izzy, who are not counted in our FTE, but are just as important. Together, we oversee adult, children, teen, outreach, volunteer, and literacy services, with librarians specializing in education initiatives and reentry services. Excuse me. This year, we will continue to build community trust within our rural and unincorporated communities. Development of our outreach and program planning procedures is well underway, which will bring about a more consistent feel to programming offered at our branches, while still keeping in mind the uniqueness of each community and their needs. We are continuously updating our training to ensure that our teams have the most up-to-date knowledge available to them. The library sales tax allows us to be who we are and to be able to continue to provide high-quality programming, outreach, and engagement. I thank you, Commissioners, Director Tebow, Deputy Director Brads, colleagues, my team, and our fabulous branch staff, and most of all, the community, for allowing community engagement to do what we do best. We would not be able to do all of the amazing things that we do without the library sales tax and the work of all of our library staff. Calling attention to some of our pictures up on the screen. We have the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence on the right. In the middle, we have a program that was led by author Tanisha Bernal. And we have our spinning wheel, which kids love whenever we take on an outreach or during programming, because who doesn't love to spin a prize wheel? And that's it. Kept it short and sweet. Any questions that you guys might have for me?
Thank you very much. Mr. McKenzie. Could you put your mic on?
I must have turned it off by mistake. Anyway, sorry. Thank you, Jessica.
Mhm.
I have 2 questions. One is about the demand for the Bibliobus. I was at the Green Music Center the other day for the Free Family Day, and the bus arrived, but it was like late in the afternoon and missed a lot of, what was going on, and because they had been at another event. So I'm wondering about what kind of demand on that on the bus.
The demand on the vehicle is very high. We often have to say no to some events just because we can't hit them all and do our community stops as well. But we are focusing on community stops to ensure that communities in rural and unincorporated areas have access to some of our library resources. And then I mentioned, Holds Pickup, which will start soon. That's been something that has, and thank you to IT and to collection development for helping us make that happen, because that's been something that the community has been wanted for a long time. So now we go out to our community stops every 2 weeks to ensure that they will be able to consistently pick up their holds. That does mean that our events, we have to be a little picky about them.
So I know we're putting on hold the second vehicle for looking at, the costs and the reasons and having blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I hope we can get to that second vehicle sometime in the near future. My second question is, I bring this up every year. I'm a big proponent of more adult and senior programming. And I just see tons of great children's stuff, and I just do not see any level of equivalency in adult and senior programming throughout the system. And I just wanted to add that, my voice again, as an adult and a senior.
So we actually have a very robust, thanks to Alita Dimas, our adult services administrator, a robust adult services programming, and it just gets better every year. Like for example, this year we did digital literacy classes, which were classes for introduction to literacy, to tech, which were, you know, for our seniors and older adults and anybody who needs a little brush up. And our seniors really love book clubs, and we spend a lot of money on our book clubs because our book clubs are very, very well attended. So, you know, it is something that Alita works on every single year, and she just does more and more. So I know Roanoke Park, for example, they have a lot of different programming, so I can give you a list later on if you'd like.
Commissioner Goldberg. And then you, Paul.
Thanks. You know, I'm just especially impressed and feel joy about the library at Juvenile Hall. It's just great, you know, and I used to interface a lot with Juvenile Hall. So two questions. One, and I think I might have asked them before, but I don't remember the answer or if there's any change. Is there any possibility of doing some kind of outreach, or are you doing it already at the jail, at the county jail?
We actually have a librarian at the jail, at the main adult detention facility. Right now, we are in between librarians, so we will be starting the recruitment soon. But there is we have a 20-hour contract with the main adult detention facility, and they provide programming and books as well to the jail.
Is it a room like at Juvenile Hall, or is it a bookmobile, or what
It's
do
a
they
little
do?
different. It's run a little differently. So each section has carts, and we replenish those carts of books every day. Not every day, but maybe every week or so, to ensure that the inmates get different reading materials, new reading materials. Our programming is just, you know, with this new librarian, it'll get started again. But so it's not a room, but they have access to new materials on a regular basis. And then our programming is going to be things like legal resources. Like we'll use the main adult detention facility has a plethora of NOLO books. They don't necessarily give the inmates or the men there access to these books. So the library is going to create a program where they can come in, make copies, and you know, get some assistance with that.
That's great. And I remember the librarian from Juvenile Hall talked about specific kinds of books that the kids there wanted.
Mm-hmm.
Are there specific kinds of books, or is there a way for the incarcerated men? There's no women there, right? Yeah, it's all men. Well, anyway, the incarcerated people to have input on the kind of books they might want?
Yeah, we talk to them all the time. So yeah, absolutely. Like, you know, one of the quotes that Scott shared that was one of my favorite is one of the young men saying, "Where the love books at?" So
yeah,
you know,
right.
We listen to what they tell and they ask us. You know, obviously, like with Juvenile Hall, there are some books that we cannot provide them. But yeah.
Okay, thank you. Great. I'm glad. I think I didn't know the answer before. And then my final one is seniors, not about programs, but seniors who don't drive, seniors who don't do ebooks or digital, or, you know, how do we?
So
that's almost me, you know, so.
It is something that we have been talking, that Jamie and I specifically have been talking about for a long time. So we're going to be looking, my team is going to be looking for grants this year to try and start our books by mail program, because we know that is something that the community has really been asking for, and our staff is very enthusiastic about it. So we'll be looking for some grant funding to pilot that. We've done a little bit of the legwork already, but that is certainly on the horizon. And also that's, we use our bibliobus for that too, our community stops. We visit several senior centers, and I think they will be especially excited about the holds. Because yes, we know it's a need. Some people, even though, like, for example, there is a senior center we visit right down the street from Santa Rosa. It is walking distance, but they can't walk. They can't walk there. Not all of them anyway. So we go to them.
And there also are, some libraries have a program where basically it's like a homebound patron, where we, they have a policy where somebody can be like the steward, that they are representing that person, and they can pick up their books and deliver them to that person. So that's something else that we are looking at, how to facilitate that.
As the population ages here in Sonoma, yeah. Commissioner Havenridge.
As an old person. No. One thing that we had talked about is biblio bikes.
Mm-hmm.
And that would answer a lot of these questions in the communities, where the biblio bike could go. It'd be electric bike too, but it'd be cheaper than a bus, and deliver to local community centers like the senior center.
Yeah.
And he even could do a Meals on Wheels kind of thing, go into homes if it's in the community. And I know that's something that I will speak for the Petaluma Library. Is something that we talked about.
Yeah.
And I know you've talked about it too. And I think that would be something that would be inexpensive, and it would give us more access to some of these communities that aren't going to get the biblio bus.
Yeah.
So.
And you'll be excited to know that the Petaluma Library just purchased one, which is very exciting. And Healdsburg does have an electric bike one.
So we can talk about it.
Yes, we can definitely
thank
talk
you.
about it. So
That's why I brought it up.
yes, that was thanks to the Friends of the Library who do amazing things for programming as well. They fund a lot of the extra programming that branches want to have at their libraries, and we thank them.
That's great, because there's a number of like senior centers, for example.
Yes.
Senior homes that we go to. Okay, great. Well, I didn't know we could talk about that.
Yeah.
I'm glad we are.
Another
Thank you.
question. Okay, thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, we're the last one. We're in the last stretch of it. So no, we're best for last. I'm just kidding. Everybody's great. Everybody's great. Okay, so let's start. Good afternoon, Chair Doyle, Director Thibault, Commission. I'm happy to be here before you and present on behalf of the Public Services Division. I have allergies. I don't know what's happening with my voice right now. Stick with me. My name is Barbara Mays, and I'm here with my fellow division manager, Sarah Van Treese. We stand or sit before you to talk about the accomplishments from the previous year and what the new year will bring, and how we will efficiently and effectively expend our budgets to ensure that we meet the needs of Sonoma County residents. In order to best articulate this past year, I will use the word discovery throughout this presentation. Not only is the word discovery in our new mission statement for the library, but it was embedded in our renewed hope for a tax measure to pass, in our year of training with our branch leaders. Pictured here are the branch leaders in an all-day mental health first aid training. It was evident in our ability to reclassify multiple positions to expand leadership in our regional libraries, and even in honoring our recent library graduates and welcoming new life into our librarian workforce. We are the public-facing librarians, library associates, library specialists, aides, shelvers, and managers that work in our libraries and communities 7 days a week, all year round. Families will know the faces of their favorite children's librarians. I like to call them the celebrities of the library. If you've ever been around one, whenever they walk through the library, people get excited. That would be the case for Miss Michelle on the left and Miss Shannon on the right. Those are the ones you see right there, doing story time out in the community. Everyday patrons will remember the person at the desk helping them to check out the romance book they were waiting for among the 27,000 other weekly checkouts that pass through the hands of our staff. That is the bread and butter of the library. The staff members that help the public by phone, in person, or out in the community every day. This is the reason why we're here, the reason why we see 29,000 visitors come through our doors every week. This year, our accomplishments focused on rediscovering how to keep our staff energized, qualified, and creative. We incorporated new ways to celebrate our local communities and volunteers, new innovative ways to develop team building, and to get our staff out of their buildings and engaged in their service areas. In this photo right here, you see Friends of the Library, Petaluma Library volunteers. They were joined with lab members, teen volunteers, and yes, our Petaluma commissioner out under the tent at the Petaluma Mini Library on a beautiful Friday morning last October. This event was paid for with money from our budget this year in order to celebrate the contributions of our local volunteers at their home branch where they invest their time. When you have the same goal year after year as a department, ours is staffing our libraries, you need to get creative by keeping staff involved and forward thinking. And when I talk about staff, I don't just mean our frontline workers, I mean Sarah and myself as well. We make every effort to lead by example, and Sarah and I presented about Sonoma County Library's resiliency and safe library practices at a virtual conference in February for the Colorado Library Consortium. Sarah also presented at the Association of Library Service to Children's National Institute and at the Association for Rural and Small Libraries, showing that Sonoma County Library is at the forefront of library standards. I would be remiss also in not mentioning that we have staff that present at CLA, ALA, and work on numerous committees nationwide. It is easy to talk about the impact we make with our patrons when I give you a great patron quote like this. Here I go. I love my Sonoma County Library. I have been going to the main Santa Rosa Library for decades, and now I have introduced my granddaughter to the Sebastopol branch. I constantly sing the praises of the Sonoma County Library to all my friends, book clubs, and neighbors, and I've encouraged my son and his wife to get their library cards, so now the whole family is in on the game. I'm a big fan. Let's talk about how we do this. How do we create this impact on the community? The discovery of last year propels us into the stories and ideas for resilience. Am I on the wrong slide? No, okay, great. For resilience for the next. We reimagine new ways to offer library service with 4 of our regional libraries closed for modernization projects. Petaluma branch manager Diana Spalding can say that many Petaluma patrons were pleasantly surprised at how much we've been able to offer at the Petaluma mini branch, including intentionally selected popular materials for all age groups, printing, convenient computers available, and holds access in a cozy, retro-feeling building. If you've been there, okay. We train our staff with our public services funds and send them to professional development, which I talked a little bit about. But this also includes great programs like the Windsor Leadership Program. Windsor branch manager Phil Hoft attended this past year and told me that it has provided him with an opportunity to learn about local needs and services from community stakeholders with a dedicated cohort for 10 months with the town of Windsor. We talk about real life situations in the world as well that patrons are asking about a lot more recently. And we prepare staff by equipping them with policy and procedure. We have the tough conversations and we weather the difficult situations in order to reach common ground and form united goals of our library system. We are excited to look forward to next year's focus. Resilience is the ability to adapt and bounce back from experiences that would otherwise set us back. We showed the town of Windsor how much we can do with a library building with a closure of 2 months. And we are ready to show Petaluma and Healdsburg communities what we can do after year-long closures. I'm looking at you. We are ready to show we are ready to show the communities again what we can do for them, and we are ready to see what efficiencies we can find, and in looking to future locations and staffing models we can create. We are ready. We are ready to serve you because of our staff. As you know, public services is all about people, and it's clear that our budget is centered around salaries and benefits for both our regular help and extra help staff. They represent about 2/3 of the library's total workforce. So we have to shout out human resources and payroll for supporting our staff through their careers at the library. We can be ready to serve in public services because of the staff that you help to recruit, onboard, train, coach, and pay. It's more than 200 individuals plus extra help. The current level of staffing is essential to our 7 days of service per week and the high impact resources that Barbara and our teammates have highlighted. Our budget also includes the funding for all that staff development that Barbara has outlined, as well as the basic costs of staff mileage for training, reassignments, or travel between locations. It also covers multilingual interpretation service, chambers of commerce membership for local connection, and postage. Do you know we can mail information to someone who can't come to the library in person and who doesn't use email? Even something as small as one single postage stamp can help with access, discovery, and resilience. This year, we are also going to begin managing the security services contract. It's moved over from facilities, and so that's why you'll see the large increase in our resources budget. Generally, as you have heard all afternoon long, in order to carry out the library's mission, vision, and values, our staff work closely with all other divisions and departments. We help introduce patrons to the technology and resources that are selected and procured by IT and collection services. We partner with facilities to provide safe, clean, and welcoming spaces. Our team delivers programs and outreach with the guidance of community engagement. Communications and marketing help us share the good news and draw new users to the library. The whole library staff, front-facing and behind the scenes, works together to help library users grow and thrive. And our team in public services has the joy and privilege to see that discovery and excitement on the faces of our library users. The library's reimagining plan is evident in everything we do, reinforced by our staff's ongoing work with and for our Sonoma County communities. As you've heard from all the other presentations today, every day we look at how to foster justice and inclusion by working to provide equitable access to all. The efficiencies that we create behind the scenes have a direct impact on the resiliency of the community and other reimagining plan goals. To that end, it's critical that we maintain the current hours to the public and make sure our staff are trained and equipped. In the coming year, we'll also carry forward the library's values in the new community library project in Roseland, in the Rincon Valley modernization projects, in the other renovation programs that Dave mentioned. We will be training our staff to use that efficient new library software. We will work on new approaches to safety and security. And beyond the library, public services works with our stakeholders as we consider the evolving needs of our community. We'll continue to look for efficiencies and innovation as we support our staff and users with good library work. In this photo, we see students showing each other how to use the self-checkout at the Roseland Library. This is a great example of these kids being in on the game, as Barbara's patron put it. It's also another example of discovery, an example of equitable information access in action. In Roseland, just as it happens around the county every day, people connect with us, they connect with each other. The library brings people together as they learn and discover. Public services puts a face to the reliable library service that our community has come to expect. Just as they recognize our faces and our celebrity librarians,
Our voters expect us to know their faces too. They hold us accountable for innovation and inclusion. They expect reliability and accountability. They know it's free and easy to get a library card. They know we're here for them with Spanish and English language services. They know their kids will learn the joy of reading and share cultural experiences at the library. Like in this photo, this is the Sonoma Vietnamese Association's lion dance team at the Northwest Santa Rosa Library. Our voters and our library users also know that at the library, teens are designing their futures. Families are getting outdoors in our parks. Folks are recording podcasts and digitizing old photos and everything else you've heard today. Discovery is happening at the library. And through it all, the trained, friendly public services staff are ready to help. So here at the end of a long afternoon, we want to share one last quote to warm your hearts. It's a quote that really sums up what we are all doing at Sonoma County Library. Recently, a Santa Rosa library user wrote in to brag about their neighborhood branch, and they wrote, "The library feels like love and safety. It has warmth. So many people use this space. It feels lovely to me. This is a special place." Thank you, Commission, for helping us make the library that special place for everyone.
Questions? Commissioner Evans?
I have a couple comments. Thanks to both of you. I mean, we really see the face of the library as we do these community outreach things. Oh, just as a reminder, Petaluma Butter and Eggs this weekend, which we will have the Petaluma staff in the parade. So they've done some innovative things. Yeah, are you going to be there?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Okay, good. Oh, good. I won't be, but that's great. They've done some really innovative things over the years. And they had a cart parade where they took the book carts.
Yeah, the carts will be out again.
One year. Yeah, it was fun. Yeah, so that's really great. And thank you, the staff in general, for the mini library. It's been really successful. And if anybody hasn't been there, they took the old teen center and renovated it, and it's really great. And using the outdoor space, which you showed in the slide, using that quite a lot for the lunches and things, and other events. So thank you for both of you for doing all that.
Yeah, the outside of the mini library is about to get a facelift too.
Oh, is it? Okay,
Yes,
I
the
didn't
city
know.
has some murals coming up for that building, so it'll look even more fancy.
Excellent. Yeah, maybe we should retain it even with the new.
Ooh.
Well, might as well. We could use it.
Other questions, comments? Commissioner McKenzie?
Thank you both for all you do. I know you have a lot of responsibility, a lot of libraries, and a lot of staff, so you're trying to keep everybody going, and it's a lot. And it's spread out all over the county. I know it's a lot. Anyway, appreciate all of the public service team because, again, it is the face of the library, and it's a constantly in motion. It's a feeling. I wanted to ask, since you are now, I shouldn't say stuck, but you've got the security budget in your budget. We didn't used to have security at Roanoke Park, and then it was my understanding that there was a security person from Petaluma. When Petaluma was closed, we got him. But there was another guy there the other day. So I'm just wondering, are we seeing greater security needs? Did you ask for any more security people in this coming year? And kind of what are the security issues that we're facing as a system?
Yeah, I'll talk a little bit, and I'm sure Sarah would like to also talk, but we're actually excited to have the security budget within our budget. Recently, an RFP was put out, so it was a public RFP for security services. When it was in Dave's budget, it was separated out, so we had overnight patrol at some locations, and then we had our the security professionals that were in the buildings. So this RFP, Dave worked with us, and Dara was on our legal as well, helped. We put together an RFP to combine both our overnight patrols and our security professionals together. So we're in that process right now, so I can't talk too much about what that might look like. But in our RFP, we did put in for a Roanoke Park security guard as well as a Petaluma security guard. as well as Guerneville and Northwest and Central having 2 guards, one that would travel to Roseland and Northwest. And then we've done that by kind of Dave has been wonderful with working with us to help with some of our overnight security issues at some of our branches, to where we don't need the overnight patrol at some of them now, because we've installed gates or other security measures, so that we kind of aren't seeing a level of needing it there. So we've been able to allocate our resources a little differently in our RFP. For Rohnert Park, I will tell you, since having the guard from Petaluma at Rohnert Park, I mean, staff really appreciate having it. There has been some increased level of, security incidents. They've been getting a lot of the Petaluma patrons, and they're our busiest library in our system right now. So we have seen that uptick. So when we did look at our RFP, we did look at having one in Petaluma still, and also increasing in Rohnert Park. It's not like, oh, this is an emergency, but we have seen that uptick, and we are receptive to looking at our statistics really regularly and reporting out to our safety committee and making sure that we're making our staff feel safe and secure in their library buildings, as well as patrons, not just about our staff. So that gives a little bit of that background, but I know Sarah will want to also expand upon what I said.
Yeah, as Barbara says, we are looking at our incident stats frequently. I would say daily, weekly, monthly, and also I've been working on a project recently to look over the last few years. And one thing, as we've seen, our libraries are very busy, and the more people that are using the library can have some impacts on safety. As an example, our Rincon Valley Library is next door to Maria Carrillo High School, and so we have a crowd of teenagers for about an hour a day, every day. And a couple years ago, we did see some safety incidents, basically between teens, things maybe that were carrying over from stuff that happened at school. And last year we were able to add a security guard at Rincon Valley for basically that 1 hour in the afternoon. And it's really made a big difference there. Yesterday I was at Rincon Valley around that time of day, and I saw the security guard outside along with that crowd of kids. And I heard the security guard asking a kid, how his day was. And that rapport building, the idea that security is here because we care about your safety, kind of versus we're here to, find out if you're getting in trouble. I think that approach that we have with our current vendor works really well, and we're grateful for that. Another thing that we have focused staff training on and community contacts with is in regards to being able to reliably refer folks to our local crisis response teams, for example, the SAFE team and In Response. And one thing that we see at our branches now is that more and more patrons will come and ask staff to call those teams on their behalf and say, hey, I need that help. Could you call for me? I'm going to wait outside for them. And, just recognizing that many, many people are very stressed about all kinds of things right now. And again, sometimes that stress carries into the community, as you might observe in other public places. And so it's really important to us that we are addressing the safety concerns of our staff, of all of our users, and of folks who are vulnerable in these situations.
Thanks very much. Commissioner Pauls, you had a question?
He's interrupting. All right.
Did you have a question?
I did.
Over to you, Commissioner Pauls.
I do, thank you. And now I'm super flustered. I don't want to sit next to him anymore. All right?
We're gonna remember that.
Sorry, sorry. I didn't mean to do that. Uh-oh. I take the issue.
Right here.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Okay.
It was a battery.
I did want to say, Barbara, thank you so much for being so welcoming to me. As a new commissioner, it was really lovely that you reached out in my first meeting, and we've been able to get together. So I really appreciate that. This seems to be my job. I'm going to ask about the difference of the proposed budget of resourcing of, the difference between this year and next year. is, 540 now, so. Is it all secure? I mean, I just wanted to double check.
Yeah. So a little bit on the opposite spectrum of some of the folks that you've seen before, where the annualizing kind of dipped their budget down a little bit. Annualizing, increased slightly.
Yeah.
And then, as Sarah mentioned, for the resources, that's really that security
Yeah, I just wanted to
contract
show
that
that.
transferred over from Dave's to ours, and then also the increase due to mileage reimbursement in travel for staff. Marina, did you want to say something as well?
Well, and I would add too, the increase in our mileage line is offset by a decrease in our staff training line, but those things go together. I think Barbara was talking about, we have more staff that are attending local training opportunities. For example, you'll see in May that we had a big group of staff attending a Low CN youth experience event. And so even though that's a no cost training for us, we pay staff as they're traveling on work time. And so our mileage and staff development budgets kind of go hand in hand for that reason.
I just wanted to note that under salaries and benefits, in addition to annualizing costs, in the current year, extra help was reduced to meet the reduction in sales tax. And so next year, the extra help is restored to the original amount prior to the cuts this year.
Thanks, Marina.
I have a question. Commissioner Goldberg.
You too, but about the budget also. So in the part that says people, that is increasing a little bit, is that basically salary and benefits?
Yeah, it could be step increases for our staff who are have been here another year. It's also annualizing the really small differences when we were able to reclassify several positions that you approved last year. For example, our librarian 3 at Roner Park, Katati, and then as Mirna mentioned, I believe the fiscal year 25 budget that's shown here reflects the cost savings plan that you approved. And so a small portion of our extra help budget was reduced this fiscal year and is restored next year.
And so does that mean, and I guess you could say this for all the divisions, in terms of salaries and benefits, like, I know here for 200 people is going up about 1% from 15. Anyway, I just did a little quick math. Looks like about 1%. Yeah, what about Ebola? What about?
Okay, so every division is different. In particular, the changes you can see much more pronounced in public services because of two things. It has 100 and something 250 FTE, right? So that's half of the FTE for, we have 200 something FTE altogether. So, basically the number of they have not increased FTE. So it is pretty much a flat budget in salaries and benefits, except for the increase in healthcare benefits and any annualizations, plus the increase in extra help. So it's a combination.
So we're still in negotiations with our union. So this budget does not include IFOLA because we are still working with the union on that. So once we do have an agreement in place, we will be looking at, those COLAs.
Other questions? I've got a question. So are you, because it is a flat-ish budget, are you thinking about reducing the number of people who go to, say, CLA or ALA, or are they doing video trainings or All of the above.
Well, we still have our training budget. We still have our, like a conference budget is what Sarah and I call it. And last year, what we started focusing more on, because we had seen a little bit of a dip in people wanting to go far places. So we started really focusing on more local conferences and local experiences. And we've kind of, like Sarah mentioned, we have a lot more people wanting to go to like Lausanne and these local opportunities. So we're still continuing on with that. We have ALA on the docket, PLA on the docket for next year, and we put out calls, CLA, we put out calls for staff. Reform is going to be a big one. And when those come up, we put out a call for staff, and then we get people who respond with applications who want to go, and we kind of look within our budget who we can send each year.
So just how many people in your department will go to Philadelphia, for example?
It depends on how many people want to go, really.
Yeah.
But I would guess.
I mean, not this budget year, I think, but.
Well, Philadelphia is not one of the ones. We're sending, I think, one person this year because it's far. So it wasn't on our like priority list for this year.
The American Library Association.
But next year's is, I believe, in Chicago. So that's on our docket for next year. So we kind of prioritize every year, knowing the distance, looking at the cost.
Next year too.
Yes.
So, I mean, our total training budget for next year is only 25,000 people. And so sending someone to an East Coast conference usually runs about $2,000. And so that's why we really have looked at, Bay Area local opportunities. And because of that, we've had so many more staff participate. So that's great. We do have a staff member who's going to ALA, and they're going, their funding for that is primarily from a grant. And so there are opportunities, with some other funding sources as well for staff development. This was a grant through our special collections team related to web archiving. So some of the special projects we work on are also tied to staff development and opportunities for our staff to, get out nationally as well.
Yeah, at the beginning of the year, we kind of map out the big things we want to send staff to, and then we present it to the public services staff at the beginning of the year, so they're aware of the opportunities that are going to be coming up in the next fiscal year. It's not limited to that. If there's something that comes up that a staff member wants to, they can apply, and then we'll assess it within our budget. But that's kind of how it works.
Great, thank you. No other questions? Okay, thank you so much. 5-minute break.
What a way to go down.
5-minute break. 5-minute break. Yeah.
Oh, just need to stretch a little.
Oi, oi, oi.
These are.
Yeah, they are.
Louder.
The recording, Lisa?
Yes.
Okay. Section 5, budget, big picture review and questions. Mirna, take it away.
Just want to thank all the presenters today. They put a lot of time and care into it, and really we do. Oh. I want to thank in particular the accounting team who has been there to ensure that we're still operating while the CFO is consumed with the budget development and formulation. Also want to give a special thank you to Jessica Raitano, who was my right-hand person in learning the software to develop the budget book and to have a more professional, in-depth presentation of the budget for the commission, our staff, and the public. So I really appreciate that and her contributions, and Catherine Line, who kept all the operations going. Other special thank you are to Ray for the tedious work on all of the slides and updating, make sure they look really nice, that they're consistent, and for Armando, big overview of to help pull together the budget workshop itself. Lots of work in the background as well, and really appreciate the attention to detail and making sure that this is a success. And it's always wonderful to partner with the library director Bolt, who has an eye for numbers, and I do enjoy our partnership. So thank you. And if I missed anyone, I'm sorry, but I really appreciate, this is, again, a whole team of everyone's participation. IT, thank you. One time they saved me because they had to create an image for me over the weekend. So lots of little things. With that, I don't want to be repetitive, but I am pleased that given the economic circumstances of our country and locally, how we do feel those impacts, that we can have a balanced budget, that we do have resilient major revenues in property tax in particular that carries the day, sales tax that brings in almost still between 35 and 40% of our budget to make sure that we can deliver consistent, strong, meaningful, impactful services, and we can do that with the workforce that we have, and that we remain with a healthy rainy day fund that hopefully we do not have to tap into, but it's there in case we do. So with that, I wanted to talk about our next steps. We, on the May 7th commission meeting, I understand I've been taking copious notes, and we have at least one question that's outstanding, that any questions that we did not have responses to this today, we will provide written responses on May 7th at your regular meeting. And then on June 4th, the commission will consider adopting the budget for fiscal year 2025, 2026. So with that, if there are any other questions, I think there were, I'm happy to take them.
Yeah, I had a question in general on the budget, on whether we factored in the contingency for the tariff, the impact of the tariffs.
A contingency?
Some to figure out, because depending on what the final decision is on the tariffs, that's going to have an impact on things like the construction work we're doing, supplies we're ordering.
Yes.
The manja games from Japan are going to, places like that it's going to be affected by that.
Sure. Well, it's been a you know, it's been, everyone is concerned about the lack of clarity, the lack of, you know, consistency as to what is the actual policy, when are these tariffs actually going to take place. At this point in time, we're doing the best we can to establish a budget with the information that we do know. And the revenues are conservative, given that there are consultants and experts in the field, that's what they do, is project out sales tax. And they have projected that even after we have reduced the budget in our current year, they're still projecting a loss in sales tax this current year, a very tiny one, but they're still projecting loss, which means that it's volatile. And since I use the current year, 2025, as the basis to project out the revenues for next year, I have brought into consideration, it takes into consideration a shortfall that I do explain in the memo of about $100,000 in the current year. So that is reflected in next year's revenue forecast. And so that's why you see just a small increase for next year. We do have a contingency fund that is there in the event that there are any additional revenue fluctuations. And so that is our strategy at this time to try to manage and respond to this uncertainty in the economy. But what I do is update the Finance Committee and the Commission on a monthly basis. So if there are any changes that I can react to before June, I will do my best to fold those into the budget for your adoption. Or we'll continue to monitor, throughout. I hope I answered your question.
You did the best under the circumstances.
Right. And the commission has been pretty flexible on the staff over the last few years. I'm looking at COVID. We were right there to be responsive if something needed to happen. So I think that Myrna has us well trained. We will, the Finance Committee will come together immediately to have a conversation about things.
And I also want to add, so we also do budget versus actual. So we get reports from the Budget and Accounting Department so that we can regularly monitor and track our expenditures. And, I will say that Myrna and I are pretty, we're pretty solid and firm about upholding the budget expenditures that we currently have. So we're pretty dedicated to maintaining what we have projected, and we ask our staff to make adjustments if we see that their expenditures are higher than projected.
Other questions? Barbara.
Yes, thank you. I will go through really fast. I have a lot of little markers in here, but I only asked the ones that I didn't get answered.
Could you
But-
speak up as you're talking?
Did I speak up?
Could you?
I thought I was speaking loudly.
Oh.
Can you hear me? Okay. First of all, this is not in the budget, but because I blew it when Dave Tacheva was doing his presentation. I have to ask if the air curtains can possibly be disconnected by the doors. They're just deafening. We've been to so many things at the library where we have to keep the doors closed to the where the performances, the book sales, everything that goes on in the meeting rooms because of the sound of those things. So anyway, I meant to ask you that, but
We can move them to the outside.
well, whatever you can do. I mean, it's really bad.
Without them, the utilities will skyrocket. So
Right.
Okay.
we will look into it. Proctor Motors, I think the one we have in Windsor has 3 different settings. So
That'd be great. Whatever improvement, I really appreciate. Thank you, Dave. So on the budget development process, this would be page 12 in our book. We talked about this in Finance Committee, and I believe at the full commission, and Myrna, we're just talking about what part does the commission actually play in priority setting for the budget? And we talked about having a meeting, I believe, did we talk about August or September of not, well, obviously couldn't do it for this year, but for the coming budget, I just thought this would be an opportunity for me to bring up that, you know, we're going to add that to the budget development process and timeline for the coming year. And then my little tags here on page 40. I noticed that the county is really cranking up their charges to us. I wondered if they're going to do anything extra, or they just saw opportunity to raise their prices.
Yes.
I regret saying that there is nothing extra. These are the costs that they're passing on to us for the activity that we generate. And we're one of the larger districts that they support, and we generate a lot of activity. I'm looking at the possibility there is a possibility of being independent of the county, but there's other costs that come with that as well. So, but I will be doing some further research on to see how we can maybe bring in some of the work in-house to save.
Well, their role is important. And so it wouldn't really, it's just this kind of a sudden large increase. It was kind of like, oh, let's give them, encourage them some more. On page 43, oh, I asked that question, never mind, of Jamie. Let's see. On page 49, special department expense. It's just kind of a really big number to not have any specifics on, even though next year is lower than this year. But I was wondering if you could let us know what's basically in that community engagement special expense department. Or special department.
Page 49 is community engagement, special department expense. Do you want to speak to that, Jessica?
Oh, everything that we do. So special department expenses are things like supplies for programming, supplies for performers, performers, signature events. Thank you. Because what are words at this point? So please bear with me. Signature events, outreach supplies, as well as purchasing giveaway things for our prize wheel, summer reading, everything that we do. It generally comes out of special department expenses. So adult services, teen services, adult services, teen services, children's services, that all comes out of their budgets are divided within that budget.
Well, just the only thing I would say is, we're pretty careful documenting a lot smaller numbers, training expenses, 19,000 and private bar 4,000. And yet we have like everything else in this huge pot without any detail.
So I budget that very carefully within my department. I have very pockets of money within a budget of our own creation that we create something called TCA codes for. So everything can be accounted for and can be pulled so that they know what we spend it on.
I think one reason for the decrease year to year is the change in the lunch at the library program. So I think that's probably the biggest reason for what you are seeing as, it's a more than 10% decrease, but it's related to a specific program and how that.
Well, I wasn't concerned about the increase of the actually decrease, but just that there's so much, like everything else, when we break out a lot smaller things and then we don't have any detail on $500,000.
And something that you'll see this year too is that I've requested specifically that our grants be broken out into separate budgets, just because it's easier to track them. So you'll notice that that is not in the 52-162, the special department expenses this year. But they'll be tracked as well, because before we used to lump all the grants we got in that department or that budget.
It really falls to an accounting limitation that we have. So it is, the way a special department expense has been booked is the way when I came on board, I just have not changed it, because the reality is that we are reporting to the Measure Y committee all the funds that go to program. So the way our chart of accounts, now I'm going to get into lots of, jargon, but our chart of accounts are not laid out in a way that if we were to spread all of our program into all of these accounts, then we could not it makes it very extremely challenging to track what is programmed and then provide a report that can be quickly generated for the Measure Y Oversight Committee, because they like to see program. And that's what Jessica was just explaining. All the program is in the special department expense. All the performers, the lunch at the library, summer reading program, the adult, the teens are all in there. And I could quickly generate a report that says, sales tax funds, how much has been spent in this account, and I could forward that over to the Measure Y committee. That's why it was created that way.
Yeah, well, I fully accept your explanation, but to me it's just a kind of a disproportionate thing. But moving on, because I'm going to try to do this quickly because I know that people have questions. So on page 52, we are anticipating the forecasting need for legal advice and boosting our outside legal advice from 230,000 to 317. Anything specific in general that you can mention that we're anticipating legal advice about?
So one of the things that has changed in the last several years is the number of PRA requests that we receive. We used to get, Jaylene used to get 3, and now we're at 35. And so our legal expenses, so our legal firm helps review all of our PRA requests. They provide guidance on what we can exempt, what we need to redact, and what we need to disclose. And we've had some massive PRA requests that really are driving up our legal costs. We have some that are annual and we anticipate them, like the Transparent California. We know what we need to provide them, but then we do get these other requests, and it just seems like every year our PRA requests are increasing.
So that's the bulk of it.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Public records request. I got that one answered.
Did I answer for this question? Or?
Yeah, I believe I'm actually done. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Following up on Barbara's point. Following up on Barbara's point, I agree with her that large items should be subdivided. It does look very strange to essentially have miscellaneous be the bulk of any line item. So maybe you could rethink what you can break down in the future.
Anything else? Okay, then I'm going to thank you, everybody. And the foundation meeting is starting in this room at 5:30. So we probably adjourned. The next meeting is Wednesday, May 7th at 6 o'clock.